Hey, wow, what the hell's going on with my voice? Even my voice is messing up. Everything's messed up this morning. Yeah, then well, this afternoon I should say. Anyway, welcome everybody. Welcome, of course, to another episode of Opinionated with yours truly. I have had some weird tech issues ever since I sat down in this damn chair today. Thank you all for showing up today. We gonna be doing it in real time, so I'm gonna have to be figuring out a whole bunch of stuff. So if you see my eyes darting, it's because I'm figuring out stuff. I don't know why things should fail at the last moment. I did my pre-checks, everything was good, but it is what it is. That's the whole adventure about all this thing in life. Hopefully, your day has been great today. If you didn't realize, of course, if you're somehow new to this show, welcome, of course, for showing up. And I am your host, Resla. And in case you need a little bit of an introduction to my show, this show is about having conversations that are thought provoking, a little bit controversial from time to time, but most of all, in a way that's going to provoke critical thinking so that, quite frankly, we give that thought process back to people because, quite frankly, we see so many things in social media and we become very much indoctrinated. So when we have these conversations with our families, with our friends, with our colleagues, or even if we're just sitting in the dark and having particular thoughts to ourselves, are the thoughts that we're really having truly ours, are simply all the voices that we've been hearing throughout time? I'm going to have a very mixed bag kind of episodes today. My timeline was really full on political stuff. I'm not too sure why, so I tried to do a little bit of balancing out. We're going to be doing a little bit of back and forth. I do want to cover how plenty of people are feeling in media about what did happen most recently with the political debates that went by, just to get a little bit of their feeling. And I did see something that I stopped myself on before I got really forward in trying to figure out who exactly do they have in mind might be a good candidate to try to replace Joe Biden, if there's even anyone to replace Joe Biden as well. I do have a other couple of weird things that are up here. By the way, I would like to actually put this out there because I'm a little off. My system's a little off. We gonna figure it out. But if you guys didn't pay attention to Ray earlier this morning, for you guys who like to do things bump in the night, OG Do Dirty and I had a really good stream on the Drop By discussion, the DBD, and it was crazy. It was crazy. We had a great time. Shout out to everybody who actually showed up on the platform. So we're talking about Mama, we're talking about Mayo who showed up, Locksmith who actually showed up as well. LA he came by. Like, it was a really good show. We had a good time. Yvette was there. You know, it was a really good stream. Hopefully you guys will check that out. If I remember, I will put it in the description. But if anything else, you can always feel free to go to my channel as well as OG Do Dirty's channel and see the episode for yourselves. With that, we're not going to delay. I'm going to get into a whole bunch of stuff that's going on here today, and we will pretty much acknowledge people as they come through the door. It's Wednesday. Some people are working. Some people are shopping. Some people are finally doing their laundry. Yes, some of you guys are just now at this time at 4 p.m. Eastern have decided to basically start doing your laundry. But whatever, it's all good. Before we get started, I do want to acknowledge the person that just came into the chat. Oh, I realize I'm off audio on that. But Mama, yeah, Mama's in the chat. Absolutely. Thank you for coming by. That's the only person I see who's talking in the chat right now. And yeah, let's get a little bit into it. I am really off, guys. I didn't do anything proper. This is what happened when you're rushing into stuff. So you're gonna see me in real time build pretty much a lot of my things out. Let me just go do this a little bit behind the scenes so you don't have to see a complete mess of everything I got going on here. We can be a little bit simple on this. Okay, here we go. That looks decent. All right. So this was the first thing that landed on my platform, and I just said, "Oh shoot, we got to start the episode out with this. We got to start it out."
That's weird.
Assmouth donated $3. Beck, you are a weirdo fuck up, but you live with trauma and have a good soul. You don't deserve the life you live. Redeem yourself while you can. Please. And go to sleep.
How man's right in the background sleeping.
That is a real dono. Real as fuck, yep.
And some people need that awakening. They went in like, bro, really, like he changed her life after every, like, when I say like when I saw that, I was like, wow. But so you guys actually see what I'm talking about here. I'm realizing you guys didn't see what was going on here.
That's weird.
Assmouth donated $3. Beck, you are a weirdo fuck.
Can we just stop to say for a quick moment that the person who made the donation's name is Assmouth? All right, we're gonna go with that.
That's weird.
Assmouth donated $3. Beck, you are a weirdo fuck up, but you live with trauma and have a good soul. You don't deserve the life you live. Redeem yourself while you can, please, and go to sleep.
It's the go to sleep part.
That is a real dono. Real as fuck, yep.
Folks, when you decide to do your life on social media, when you decide to do all these things, you got to be aware that when you open your mouth, you tell you tell the world who you are, and it's not for everybody. It's really not. A lot of people understood that it's a quick way to make a buck if you're able to make a buck, because you have to pretty much spend an exorbitant amount of hours out there in the world. It's not for everyone's convenience. And then you have other aspects of your life. You have other aspects of your life that actually take place. I gotta figure out who the heck is texting me. I'm not sure who this is. All right. Well, you're gonna have to take a back seat, because I'm with you guys. There's a lot that's going on. A lot of people don't understand what they're really signing up for when they decide to get on social media. Our man is basically, whoever the hell he is basically in the background just chilling, while everybody can look around in that room. You can see everything going on in that particular room. It looks like a hot mess. And yes, she's sitting up with people at night, and they just basically have to say, you have to get your life together. So obviously she's got some kind of complexities when it comes to what's happening in her life and in the world, and she's sharing it in real time. So should we have any particular reservation as to how she's feeling? Maybe not. Another thing I want to share is that there are people who are literally here paying out an exorbitant amount of money when it comes to living here in New York, right? In my city of New York, that is. And quite frankly, they still try to have a rather social life. But what does it say for the people who are trying to have families? Because just for people who are single, when I say, like, you'd be surprised if you can find an actual bird cage to basically live in, or we say like, oh, the place I live in is basically a closet. Well, there's a great representation for this young woman over here, right? Who I can say practically lives in the closet. Let's check this out.
Yo, welcome to my apartment.
Yo, this space is so small. How much do you pay for it?
$650.
What's the square footage?
80 by 150.
So really it just feels like a walk-in closet.
It's in Midtown, so it's nice because it's not in a random spot.
Like in Brooklyn or something?
Like in Brooklyn.
Oh, wow. Holy shit.
This is a kitchen, no oven.
Are these clean or dirty
Yeah,
dishes?
they're so dirty.
They're so dirty.
Oh my God.
This is like the only shelving space you have kind of over
Only
here.
shelving, yeah. It's kind of annoying.
This
yeah.
is
Pause for a quick moment. Are you guys hearing an echo? Are you hearing an echo? For some reason, I'm getting an echo when I'm looking at the replay. Are you guys getting an echo when I'm playing the video? Let me just ask that question right now. I just went to go check real quick, and all of a sudden I'm hearing an echo. Are you guys hearing it clearly, or are you also getting that echo? Because because that's not right. That's not culture. We shouldn't be having that here. And I'm not sure why it was doing that, but it's bothering me. Me personally, I want to make sure that you guys get some good clear audio. But just let me know, Mama. You're in the chat. Just let me know if you actually was hearing an echo or was it actually just good. And in case you didn't hear, I'll play a little bit again. So
Very like college.
It's so college. Feels like a dorm, yeah. We have a makeup bin and we have food.
Or do you cook in here ever? That's the real question.
Sometimes, yeah. If I do though, like I'll go get it fresh. This is storage. I just keep like a lot of cleaner stuff up there. So I had food up here originally. There were like mice in like the beginning of summer. So I was like, hell no.
The whole mice bugs thing, like any apartment in New York, you can't escape it. You almost couldn't even do an at-home workout in here. That's how small it is.
Yeah.
So you used to live in a luxury high-rise, and then you moved into this tiny spot.
Yes.
And what prompted that?
I was debating if I was gonna move back to LA when this lease was over. So it was a 6 month short time lease. I just found it and I thought it would be nice and convenient. I can travel and not have to worry about a lot of rent.
Basically, save $2,600 a month.
sorry guys. I don't even know if you was hearing me. I was talking to myself. I have no idea what part I was in. Sorry. I'm doing too much. I'm doing too much at once right now, trying to make sure that everything is good. Is it your audio that was tripping? Because on my main says everything is fine, but when I'm listening to it on my laptop, it sounds kind of crazy. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on here. Were you guys hearing an echo on your end when I played the video? I don't know what's happening. I've had some tech issues just prior before stream. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Zoomer, what's
So
good?
should we shift into the living room
Yeah,
area?
let's do it.
Okay. Onto the couch, a nice view of the TV. You can almost reach over and wash your hands from the living room if you wanted to.
I work in fashion, so those are all from my magazine that are editorials for, and then semi-new to New York, a year, so it's like postcards for them to give you when you go to restaurants, and I'll like write memories on the back of them with like whoever I went with to the place.
So do you primarily hang out like down here when you're at home?
Mostly. Sometimes it's nice to go up there and like read.
This space between here and here folds into a guest room. Can we pull it out? Can we see it? So everything has to shift to the right a little bit.
She lives in the closet. What guest? What are you two literally gonna be living on top of each other? How do you plan on having a guest? You barely can sleep in the spot that you're at. You can barely stand without bumping into something. And you have a dog. You don't have a small dog. You got a rather large dog. I'm surprised that in Midtown she was even to be able to find a closet for $650. I'm really shocked, to be honest with you. And I can tell that's dead in Midtown. I want to say she might even be in the Houston area because that's where I see a lot of brick wall apartments, as they call loft apartments. So I don't even know how she even managed to find that shit, because I imagine that would be in an ad somewhere in the back of the booth or the corner in the dark, and she just got lucky to find it.
And then you just pull it out.
This is Surf Life, so I'm guessing they're like a surf brand.
It's definitely a little.
Even if she had a guess, they'd be struggling on that sleep. Did you not see the way how that damn sofa moved? That was crazy.
So I'm guessing they're like a surf brand.
It's definitely a little stiff.
Oh, it's very stiff. Like, I have to like buy a mattress pad every time friends come.
And where do you keep the mattress pad then?
Go return it because I don't. It's so big. I mean, look at the closet. It's so tiny.
The cupboard.
You would only appreciate that bed is if you were already homeless and sleeping on the streets. That's the only way you could appreciate that bed.
Under the stairs.
This is the thing about this apartment is like every time I want to get something out, something else has to move.
Oh, so you have your jackets and stuff there.
Yeah, just because it's hard to get to, so stuff that I need right now.
Where do you keep your jackets when it is winter?
Where all those clothes are right now?
They do. They're just hanging down from somewhere.
There's literally one bowl that goes across the entire wall up there, and I was like, I have no other choice but to put clothes here. Yeah, it's like a little treehouse kind of.
Yeah, it does actually feel a little bit like a treehouse. What about your neighbors?
She said she lives in a treehouse, y'all. But it's young people like this that decide that they want to give up everything they have and they want to work at a place making freaking $60,000+, and then they live in a birdcage. They live trapped. And I can't say anything to you because here's the truth of the matter. When I was younger in my 20s, I would date girls who would live in places like this. Literally, like they would either live in places just like this, where it was practically a closet, a broom closet for them to figure this shit out, or it would be like they would have roommates and it would be like a railroad apartment. Like it's just one room after one room after one, just going to the back. And there's still no privacy because literally it's not even really separated by doors, but kind of like curtains, I guess. So everybody still knew each other's business of what was going on, whether they were watching TV, whether they were getting bust down, whatever. I mean, I knew people who were aspiring lawyers or even physicians that turned around and was in places like that. And I'm just like, this is what you pay for because you don't want to go out to one of the outer boroughs. You want to be in Manhattan that desperately. All right, you do you.
Can you hear them?
Surprisingly not. The only one I can hear is the one next door, and his shower is, it must be like right behind that wall.
So the stairs lead up to this lofted space, which is your bed?
Yeah.
Can I try out your bed? This is something I ask everybody.
You can try it out.
I can try it out?
You can try it out.
Something he asked everybody. I'll have to see his channel if he's reviewing apartments like that, but that's crazy.
Oh my goodness.
You want me to go first? You want to go first?
Yeah, you go first. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you have your shoes on. Do you want me to take them off real quick?
Yeah, can you?
This is funny. We're really getting to know each other.
We are. We just pull it. Thank you.
This man has met her in 3 minutes of this video, which is a 6-minute video. He's already taken off her shoes. He's already been on her couch. He's already questioned her dining situation. He's already touched her feet. Like, Jesus, they might as well just start moving in and start doing something together. This is wild. Oh, Mayo, what's good? Thanks for showing up.
If you were an old person, you could not live here. Oh, wow. Holy shit. This is actually insane.
I know. Isn't it crazy?
Basically, from this railing to this ceiling right here, that's like the amount of space we have up here. So you ever bring boys up here?
Never.
If that flooring breaks,
Never
it's
happened.
done.
I tell them like it's actually not possible. It's like they're like, we won't judge you, and I'm like, no, it's not about judging. It's like you actually.
It's possible. Men will try.
Full test.
Oh my.
It's actually really comfortable.
It is.
Like your mattresses.
Yeah.
We're just close to the ceiling.
We're super close. Don't hit your head.
It looks like she has her whole life goals written behind her on the wall. Like, goal number 1, get the fuck out from kissing the fucking ceiling. Every time she wakes up, she cannot wake up and stretch or whatever. She can't even roll out the bed, because if she's rolling out the bed, could be her demise. She has to literally crawl on her belly every day to get out of fucking bed. To go down a narrow staircase like fucking a fireman to go throughout her day. Again, I have not seen a bathroom. I have not seen a shower. Like, what? How are you getting by?
That's how close it is. You really gotta watch out.
Those are purses.
They're purses, bags.
Purses and bags.
I have not seen any real clothing. All I've seen is bags. I've seen clothing packed in an area, but the only things that are actually held up, because I don't see hangers, the only thing held up are bags. Everything else is a pile of clothes dumped into an area or dumped into a bag. So it's easy to say that the adage, at least in my life of dating women, is true. A lot of y'all are messy. It's hard to run across a woman that's organized.
And then you have some more clothing hanging up over here. We just met. And I'm
Y'all
just,
care
like,
more
in
about
bed.
your bags than you
I
do
mean,
your
I guess
clothing.
people do this all the time, but not for a social media video. They're more like, you know, getting drinks at the bar. Then they end up in something.
Zoomer, you said it best. You're absolutely right, sir. A coffin sounds like it's more roomier. She might as well trade in that entire apartment for practically a coffin. Because what she has right now, it's not it. It's not it. Not even a little bit. This is crazy. This is absolutely insane.
It's better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, Thaddeus, are you right there? So how did you find this apartment?
So I found it on Street Easy. I was actually supposed to get the one below me that had a bathroom in the unit.
I'm shocked she found that on Street Easy. I could have swore she was going to say Craigslist. I swore she was going to.
And I think an oven, but that was $850, and the girl was like, it's gone, it's taken, like, these are going like crazy. And she was like, I have one more oven for you. There were so many people touring this apartment when I came.
Really?
And the agent just was like, you're really fun, like, I think you should have it. And
So this is a hot commodity.
it was a very hot commodity. It was funny because all the FIT students were like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, like, we want this.
And to let it be known, this apartment, people want it. This isn't like, oh no, you don't want to live here. You want to live here.
Yeah.
She said a hot commodity. Okay, for anyone who's ever lived on their own, which is a lot of us, in their own house, in their own apartment, let's just say starting out in your early years trying to find your first place, who looks at what she basically lived in right now and said, this is a hot commodity? Even my first place didn't look like that. My second place didn't look like that. My third and fourth place did not look like that. This is crazy. This is what your sacrifices are for. I'm surprised that you're really having to dole out $650 for that. And I'll even say $650 is a steal, but literally, I think at the low end, it's still a bigger amount of space with a taller ceiling. You could find a studio still somewhere for like $850, and I'm thinking it's probably not much, but it's still a hell of a lot bigger than that. And here's the thing you'll know with that studio. It comes with a bathroom, because I still don't see the space for a goddamn bathroom in this place. Now, I'll even do a walkthrough for this damn video again. I did not see we'll play basically who can spot the bathroom door in this bitch, because I did not see it.
It's an adventure.
Can we check out the bathroom?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, here we go.
Also, I noticed you keep your shoes out here.
Yeah, I do.
And your name.
Hey. I win. She gotta walk outside. She's sharing bathrooms with people. She gotta walk outside for a bathroom. I win. She has no public toiletry, not at all. Everybody gets dibs in the toilet paper. This is crazy. I had a feeling. She doesn't have an apartment. She has a room.
Neighbor doesn't care here.
No, he's so chill. I've asked him a million times if it bugs him. He's like, I'm here.
The shower looks nice, actually. No, I'm serious. So being a female living in this building and having your shower down.
Her shower's down the hall. Because if that's the only way that could be her private shower is somehow she has a key for it. She lives in a place where she has to walk down the hall to get to a shower. More than likely, everyone shares that bitch. Everyone. This is crazy.
Down the hall. Do you ever feel uncomfortable?
No, honestly, but it might be because I know all my neighbors and I feel like I can just like walk out.
So that means that all her neighbors must be women. I guarantee you, if she had this fine motherfucker walking through the hallway, she's gonna be like, I'm worried about one day he walks in and catch me wiping my ass. I'm just saying.
Oh, I can rock out here in town like a robe and it just doesn't matter because like we're all really close. So it's all my skincare and then this is just like kind of essential stuff like makeup brushes and let's go.
Sketchy rooftops in New York City. Whoa, so this is your rooftop. How often do you think you come up here? Like once a week, 7 times a week?
So I work from home like 3 times a week now. So I'd say like 3 to 4 days. Sometimes I get a little claustrophobic, so it's nice to just kind of like relax up here, read, write, yoga. It just gets so tiny and tight in there, so.
What do you do with the dog when you go to work?
I keep him either in the apartment.
So in a small place, in a large area of town, this woman over here has the nerve to talk about yeah, having things that are small, tiny, and basically tight in the city. This is crazy. This is crazy. CCD. Oh, no problem, no problem. Thank you for stopping by, though. Absolutely. You, I mean, you listen in, have fun, whatever. We're all good with it. Judging from where she's at, she's trying to see. I don't see enough good building, a good enough landmarks for me to be able to surmise where she might be at.
Apartment, or I take them to daycare in the morning.
The luxury building versus this apartment, which one's better?
This.
Hot take.
100%.
Hot take.
People need a lot less than what they think they need, and learned that here.
Life lessons from the tiny apartment. Hit the subscribe.
She said needs a lot less. I think you need more. You have, let me understand this. You got a doorbell for an apartment that's not an apartment. You obviously picked it because you don't ever plan on having anybody, no family, no partners. He doesn't even have enough room for you, the guys, to have an eye level conversation on a camera. That camera basically had to be placed practically on your bed for you to get that view. She's got a box with other random knickknacks above his head that could easily fall off because she doesn't have a full lip up there. By the way, that whole shelving and bracket is from IKEA. She's living in a place where she doesn't even have a place to really store any of her clothing, but she managed to hang up what I counted, because I was sub-counting, at least up to 6 bags. And I don't mean on the floor, hanging on the wall. But keep in mind, we see a Louis Vuitton box. Who are you impressing? You look like you're living in poverty. Honestly speaking, if we were to start doing a whole bunch of infrastructure and giving actual apartments to single homeless people, she's living in it. That would be my ideal. You are living in the ideal space that I would give to a homeless person. Because having a roof over your head so that you don't have to be on the outside and deal with the crazies is far better. But you are a paying resident. $650. Single. Listen, to my guys, she doesn't have enough room to bring a guy down to get the guts. If the guy's on top of her, for every freaking stroke that he has, his ass is hitting the ceiling. His ass is hitting the ceiling for every stroke he's got to commit. There's not a lot of room for excellence. There's not a lot of room for performance. Let's be honest, guys, it's one position only at the apartment. Unless they go downstairs to that couch pretty much broken, it's a one position only bed. She can't get up because she hits her head. She can't roll out to the side because that's at least a good 3 to 4 foot drop. She has to do belly crawls to get out the bed, and she can't even go far to collect herself because then she has to fireman shuffle down a freaking side of stairs, and she doesn't have a lot of room at the bottom of the steps. So somehow she has to stop herself immediately from slamming into the little corner of the wall there. And these are the people that want to give up everything to come to New York, and then will vote that the city needs to be more liberal. We need to have more people show up. This is what they're paying for. This is what they're paying for. I think that that's insane. And they'll say, like, there's nowhere else in the world I'd rather be at all. And I'm like, really? Really? All right, cool. So part of the thing I was looking at for our next segment is talking about things that I saw Piers Morgan, and he recently had Megyn Kelly on. I won't go through the most of the episode. So I was looking to the bottom here to see where I want to stop at, and I wanted to get what their take was going to be on someone who would be the best candidate to try to replace Biden.
Eyeballing this Illinois governor, J.B. Pritzker, and I think he's a no. First of all, he's extremely obese. I'm sorry, but that doesn't play well in politics. And I'm just saying it like it is. Ask Chris Christie. Plus, he's extremely radical on the trans stuff.
She just shitted hard on Christie, who's been trying to lose weight. Well, if you want to call it trying, but he's still a big ass bastard. Still, damn.
His whole family has been funding all this trans insanity and the surgeries for the minors and all that. So I think he's not going to make it. I do think Gretchen Whitmer is very interesting because she's strong. She's not like Kamala. When you hear her talk, she sounds sensible. She's Midwestern. She's somewhat likable, not to Republicans, but we're talking about Dems and independents here.
Okay.
She was absolute COVID hawk, which is fine with Democrats. And she's a Michigan governor, which is a very important swing state, which Joe Biden's now losing, thanks to, among other things, the whole Israel debacle. So she's very interesting, but you'd have to pair her with the right person. I don't know. There are some more moderate candidates out there that they're throwing around, but all of them are white men. They just can't do it. It cannot be a white man in the Democratic Party, period. Raphael Warnock, as I mentioned, from Georgia, yes, he's a black man. He's been in politics for 2 minutes, and he's the guy who ran over his wife's foot when he was running for this post. And as the ex-wife came out, he's got all sorts of baggage with his ex. I don't think they want that, ball of wax. Why bother, right? Like when you have so many other candidates. So I think the field is rather slim, but I guess if I had to put my money down on something.
Guys, I need confirmation because we just went through our whole video and I'm still hearing echoes on my side. Are you guys hearing echoes in my videos? I need to know what's going on because it's driving me insane. Like it sounds like I'm hearing two things playing at once. It's really going crazy. You say yeah, a little. It's not me because I'm playing on my laptop. I just heard it on my phone. I'm like, this does not sound good. So hold on. Let me see if I can. I'm gonna change this up. I'm gonna add. This is not what I wanted to give you guys. Again, when I played it the first time, everything fine. I had a little bit of a crash. For guys, who are just coming in, I had a little bit of a crash. I came back in, and then all of a sudden, everything is like not working. And I literally only had 5 minutes. Don't know why. It just happened that way. But we gonna work through it. Hold on, let me do this real quick. And this should help fix some of our problems. Let's see. Well, we're gonna hear what they have to say, and then as I work on this.
Somebody, it would be, as they call her, Big Gretch.
I mean, one of the problems they've got is the vetting process is going to be naturally very truncated. Whoever they go for will suddenly be exposed to the massive glare of a media in full throttle assault mode with months to an election. And there aren't many human beings who could withstand that if they haven't previously been experienced with it, right? I mean, it's a really ferocious forensic examination.
All right, let's give this a quick shot.
Yes, he's a black man. He's been in politics for 2 minutes, and he's the guy who ran over his wife's foot when he was running for this post. And as the ex-wife came out, he's got all sorts of baggage with his ex. I don't think they want that, ball of wax. Why bother, right? Like when you have so many other candidates. So I think the field is rather slim, but I guess if I had to put my money down on somebody, it would be, as they call her, Big Gretch.
I mean, one of the problems they've got is the vetting process is going to be naturally very truncated, whoever they go.
Man, you said worse? Really? Hold on. You said worse? Hold on. You're you are absolutely right. That was
go for will suddenly be exposed.
that was absolutely worse. Okay, I got to figure out what's happening here. All right, we might have to just deal with some of this what's going on. I'll just try to figure things out in the back.
Yes, and all of Trump's foibles and most of Biden's have already been baked into
Right.
the current cake. So that you're right. And I forgot to mention Gavin Newsom. Now he's a far left progressive, and Bill Maher just came out in favor of him. But he's the most radical Democrat in America. Honestly, his politics may be left.
Mayor, you said Westmore. Do you think Westmore will be a good candidate to replace Joe Biden?
Of the squads, he would be a hard no for most of those independents. And you can't win the presidency with your own party alone. You've got to persuade a certain amount of the independents to come your way. As soon as they tell independents what Gavin Newsom has done, I don't care how good his hairline is, they're going to say no. It's not another JFK. This guy is really, he's an AOC squad member kind. So I don't think he'll make it either. But yes, there will be a withering press examination by those on the right. But those on the left, Piers, and that's most of the media, will run cover for this person, whomever it is. As much as they're beating down on Joe Biden right now, that same press corps is going to raise this person up as the second coming, whoever it is, because it must be their savior from Trump. And that person will benefit greatly.
So you said he would be better. By the way, I found out what the issue was. It took me a little bit. It took me a little bit, but I found it. So sorry about that, guys. So you said he's basically Obama with a military background. Can we say that he will be better because he has a military background? Because a lot of people still had their particular issues when it came to just Obama in general. So is the military background enough if he's not really able to move things in quote a military fashion? Because let's be honest, most of the people I would say that even are sitting around that he has to deal with, what I guess members of his cabinet or even people in the House and Senate, that doesn't mean that there are people who are people who will move towards the areas of the military antics. Yeah, I'm seeing it right now. I got a whole bunch of weird stuff happening on my system. I'm gonna fix it though. That fix, this fix. Better now, yes. You said no openly progressive background. I may have to do a little bit more deep diving when it comes to Westmore to find out what a lot of his record is. So I don't really have an opinion of that. So I'd have to do a little bit more digging. But I don't know if there's anyone that they're gonna mention. Apparently they talk about a few people.
From that ubiquitous fawning coverage.
I mean, we're assuming Biden is going to be replaced. It's not happened yet. And of course, if he digs his heels in and says, I'm not going anywhere, then it may be they can't do it, under the rules of the Democratic Party. Where does Jill Biden sit in all this, Dr. Biden? Because I watched that debate from start to finish with a mounting sense of real bemusement why any spouse, a younger spouse in particular, would allow their older, beloved other half to be humiliated like that on a global stage. And she must have known that this was highly likely to happen.
So I said the same thing. I said exactly pretty much the same way. Like, how could we allow someone, like, whether he is president or not, like, how could we allow someone to sit there and get embarrassed like that? Especially, never mind that they're family members that you have to look out for, but this man is your husband. He's supposed to be, quote, your partner in crime. He's the one that helped get you in the position of just even being called, quote, the first lady. And this is how you repay him? Is this the price of all those years of loyalty, all those children, despite what you want to say about all the children and how they behave or whatever, of all those years of moving around and all that political backing and all the time of all the investments, whatever, this is how you show your loyalty to that man? And I can hear you. We'll keep him in the White House by all the any means possible. If it means that we got to get him all steroid up and all drugged up in order for him to do it, we'll get that done. But where's the care? Where's the care? There's no yo, listen. You just took the words right out of my mouth, where I was about to say it. All that power, none of the responsibility. There's no one right now who I can possibly believe will think that after seeing what recently happened, let's just say a viewer somehow never knew what the hell was going on with Biden. And after seeing that debate, there's no way you could possibly think that that man was leading the country. That man is doing nothing to lead the country. Like, I don't give a damn how much you want to say, well, he moves around and he flies in Air Force One to go talk to all these different leaders. He goes to the G Summit. Yo, they're all seeing the same thing. I'm sorry. They don't see a better, stronger minded Joe Biden. And you guys are really willing to say that you're going to rock out with this? Which is why that everybody pretty much in the media is asking who's his replacement. They're asking for it like now. Like they didn't want it yesterday. They want it now. Even though we've all seen the signs, and this is the point that I make. We see the signs and we don't say anything. Why does it have to hit everybody in the face before we decide to make actions? Because we all saw the signs. We saw the signs well before when he was running. Like, what are we doing here?
Because from all the reports now coming out, as the media finally takes its blinkers off, this is not a one-off. This has been what he's been like quite regularly in the last few months and 2 years or so. What do you think of Jill Biden's role here and her responsibilities?
I think she's been exposed as a power-hungry aspirant herself to political power. She is on the cover of Vogue magazine right now.
Yeah.
Why? Because she wants to promote herself.
Not Vogue.
She tweeted out a photo of herself sitting in the president's chair not long ago when he was preparing for the G7 meeting with his chair hanging over the back of his chair. She's not the damn president. Get out of the chair. No one wants you at the G7. No one elected.
So, do we believe that she's the one running the country? Because it seems like she's making a statement. We all know what's going on. Here's the secret messaging that's in my mind. We all know what's happening to Joe. We all know we all know that we want to say that we like him, even though a lot of people don't. But we really know who's running the country. This is literally the Wizard of Oz. We're gonna put up this man's face, but we know who's behind the curtain. Is that what's basically being that she's putting out right now? That's the immediate thoughts coming out of my head. These are my opinions. Mine.
You to lead us politically. And a couple of years ago, I did a bit that went viral on how she insists on being called Dr. Jill Biden everywhere. And all these left wingers got upset with me. She is a doctor. She's got her PhD. She's in education, what have you. I don't make fun of that degree. My own father had that degree. But my father would never have insisted somebody call him Dr. Kelly. He went by professor, and that was a title he'd earned. Why does she insist on it? Because she's power hungry. Because she.
Well, I'll say. Well, does she have a history of ever teaching? Because professors for those who actually are in a position to teach. So she might demand doctor. So I dated a med student. I had to put her in her place. Wow, I can't believe I really just mentioned her right now. But when she was going through her early parts of residency, that she was basically like, I want to be called doctor. Like literally, it reminds me of the memes that you hear on some of these channels where they say I'm a PhD. Like she's like one of those people. I want to be called doctor, and I'm like, but if people already acknowledge your profession, they can give you by first and last name. Why must they give you by title? Like, oh, you said she. Really? Okay, she should. Yes, she should be referred to as professor. The moment because here's my thing: to be called doctor, you must be actively practicing. That's the way how I see it. If you're retired, no one should be calling you doctor. I feel even that way about presidents, to be honest with you. If you're not the sitting president, and this is just my personal opinion, if you're not the sitting president, you should not be called Mr. President when you're no longer sitting. That's just my personal belief on it. We should be able to, the same way how we say president-elect, maybe we can say, post-president, but I don't think that you should be referred to as Mr. President when you are no longer a sitting president. And I've seen that shit done for who knows how long. Because when you're the president, when you're the person that's voted in and the current president is still sitting there, you're called president-elect. Even when you're standing right next to the current president, you are referred to as the president-elect. We need to have a term to really refer to post-presidents. We can't be calling him Mr. President. We can't be doing that. That's just my personal opinion on it, because you're still giving them more credence than where they currently are, because it makes them think that they still have more. They have power. Like, they still have power that they quite frankly don't have. I don't want you to think that you're a shot caller and you're not sitting in the damn seat, because you're literally an armchair quarterback. You can be seen on the common news like anyone else now.
She has a small fractured ego that she needs built up. She needs the affirmation of strangers to give her an honorarium. That really means almost nothing. The only people who get to be called doctor legitimately, I understand,
Honorarium.
no disparaging of the degree,
Let's go,
are medical
Megyn.
doctors. If you can't say yes, I will resuscitate him when he has a heart attack on a plane. Stop using that label when you get introduced at a book club or on The View, which is what she does.
Which is interesting, because yes, while she may still have her license but she's not practicing. Electively, yes, she can go out of her way to try to resuscitate him if he goes under heart failure, under good Samaritan, you can say. But she should not be in a position where she's basically prescribing or fighting with doctors to prescribe him particular pills. That should not be a thing. Like, no nobility titles. Well, here's the thing. That's what these things are. When you're called a senator, when you're called a governor, these are nobility titles, especially the term governor. You want to go all the way back to fucking Europe. Like, yes, governor. Like, we've had those titles for quite some time. So status and being able to look after other people has always been a form of nobility. It'll be hard to ever take that away, because that's the only way to prove any form of quote hierarchy. So I don't ever see that going away. Whether you even want to talk about people in the military, you have particular status. Like, that's the way I see it. It's the only way to prove the kind of rank or your skill within a particular community, I would say. So I don't see that ever going away. Not to be honest with you, now I'm thinking about it in my head, I don't think I really want to be in an area where we can turn around and say that everybody is the same, because it gives everybody credence to always just shoot somebody else down, when the truth of the matter is that there are going to be betters in the world. Not everybody who's in the position is quote unquote your intellectual betters, but there are people who always get put on a status of being betters. That's what I'm thinking in my head. Oh yeah, that's what I agree with. After, you don't keep nobility. I also agree with this. Absolutely, they are not related at all. Yeah, we're 100% in lockstep with that.
All right. And I do think it's tied to what we're seeing now, the big reveal about her. She's power hungry. She wants it. What did we see from her on debate night? We saw her take the stage and guide the president of the United States down the stairs.
Like a 4-year-old.
Like a mama would of a toddler. Like you and I both did when our kids were babies. And then after the debate, that clip that was everywhere with her saying, "You did it. You answered all the questions." Again, speaking to her the way I speak to my dog when he sits on command.
It really was.
This is the leader of the free world. She knows how infirm he is. She wants a shadow presidency. And let me tie it to one other thing. The reports are out this week that Hunter Biden,
I know, this is incredible that he's advising him.
Is at the White House and attending all the meetings with the president.
A
As
crackhead.
what? Our new shadow president? Right, exactly. Because Joe Biden can't do it. And so on deck is the drug-addled, corrupt felon son? Hard no. This whole thing.
In a month span, I have heard Piers Morgan say the word crackhead referring to somebody like 5 times now. Get the. This is crazy. I had no idea that Hunter was out there sitting in all the meetings. And he said, crackhead. Is it. Folks. A crackhead is advising the leader of, quote, the free world. How do you feel about this? So the people who voted for Joe Biden, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about the fact that your current sitting president, who's trying to go for an additional term, is deluded, deals with dementia, has a wife who is vying for power, and has a son, a crackhead son, advising him? This is, quote, the leader of the free world. This is your president. This is my president. Advising how the world should run, how your tax dollars should be spent, how your family situation is going to be handling, how to protect the nation, foreign and domestic. How do you guys feel about this? People across the pond, like Piers Morgan, and the rest of the world are looking at us in real time. Let me ask you a question. It's going to be controversial right now. Because we say that this is the greatest country, the greatest land to be in. We always have people coming here, and it's true. But can we still scream out number one? Let go.
Family needs to be bounced out of this office. And I think even the Democrats are starting to realize it.
Do you know what's incredible, Megyn, is that since that debate, you know, the person we barely heard from or been talking about is the one person everyone assumed we'd be talking about 24/7, Donald Trump. And when you think about the trajectory here, a year ago, I was interviewing Ron DeSantis down at the Governor Mansion in Tallahassee in Florida, because he was the one flying high. He was the one who was the golden boy of the Republican Party. Trump was dead and buried. It was all over. And it was around that time, a little bit earlier, it was sort of February, March of last year. It was around that time that they started all the legal efforts to go after Trump. And from that moment, two things happened. Poor old Ron DeSantis got completely sidelined. And the Trump train, which was on the sidings, tipped up on its side, thinking that's it, suddenly got put back on the tracks and is now steaming ahead, almost inevitably back to the White House. I've never seen a reversal in fortunes quite like what's happened to Trump, or a bigger self-inflicted wound by an opposition party than the one they did to themselves by deciding that they couldn't beat him at the ballot box, so they were going to destroy him legally and try and put him in jail. It's been, I mean, as a lawyer yourself, it's been a spectacular act of self-harm, hasn't it?
All great points. The two huge acts of self-harm, the lawfare against Trump and the agreement to do this debate.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessary. They easily could have said, we don't debate convicted felons.
Right.
He didn't do the debates in the primaries, and we're not debating him. It would be beneath.
No, 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 no. That's not good enough. Sorry, Megyn. That's not good. That's not a good enough answer. First of all, there's no rules on the books that says that you cannot be a felon. So you cannot state that even as a president. It doesn't matter. If you can sit there and go kiss babies, shake hands, and deal with some of the worst people for money, then yes, you can absolutely debate felons. Are you afraid? Let's just be honest. Let's just say this about someone who would be, quote, the leaders of the free world, or people who are being candidates for the position of the most highest office in the land, are you afraid to get put on your ass by a felon? I'm sorry, you cannot state we don't talk to felons because you have no problem pardoning them. So you can absolutely do so. I don't ever want to hear that until we put it on the books that felons cannot vote, that felons cannot be a candidate for presidency. Until that is on the books, you can never make that statement. You can't. Not at all. I'm a person that said I think that felons should be able to vote, just not while they're in prison. I don't think you should really be having the rights that you should be having when you're in prison. But if you're put out back in society, I think you do have a right to vote. That's just me, in my opinion. You can feel free to disagree all you like. But so long as you're not being held behind bars because you've done something absolutely crazy, if you're out in the street, you have the right to vote. You're an American citizen. That's the way I look at it. So I don't want to hear, we don't talk to people because they're felons. I don't want to hear that shit. We open up that door to say that, now you can open up the door for all kind of other shit that just has no business being there. Just gonna be honest with you.
The office of the presidency to participate in any platforming of that man. And his entire base, and probably most independents, would have said, well, we expected it. They didn't have to do it. They actually thought he...
You said in prison or on parole. Technically, if you're on parole, you're still not in prison. If you're out on parole, you're not in prison. Because if you're in prison, I don't think you should vote. I'm just putting it that way. If you're in prison, you should not vote. If you are behind bars, if you cannot go out and have any sense of freedom whatsoever, because that's the thing about being on parole, you have some sense of freedom, but you do have a check-in. Because there's people that's never been to prison, they have a check-in. But so I wouldn't say the people that's behind bars. If you're behind the concrete walls and bars, you shouldn't get the chance to vote. But the people who actually are on parole, you're out to be out in the street. You can live and breathe. You can go to restaurants. You could do. You can get a job. You can contribute. Like, yes, you should have. It should be part of your rights to be able to still vote. The people that's behind bars, no. Yeah, parole. Again, we're in lockstep. No voting in prison, on parole. Absolutely. Absolutely.
He could get out there. Do you remember Joe Biden out there a couple months ago? Make my day, pal.
Yes.
He released a video challenging Trump to do this debate. Make my day. I hear you're free on Wednesdays, because he was in the midst of that New York trial when they had Wednesdays off. The brashness, the attempt to be the new John Wayne out there, like, I'll see you at the corral, little sucker. As long as it's between the hours of 11 and 4, which is the only hours that he works, according to the papers. So he gets out there and completely falls.
I forgot about that. 11 and 4. Okay, folks. And we're not talking about 11 p.m. all the way to like 4 p.m. We're not talking about that. 11 to 4, guys. That's a part-time job. That's a part-time job, guys. The highest office of the land, a part-time job. We have CEOs. We have normal people put in 16-hour days, 10-hour days, 12-hour days, 8-hour days. The highest office in the land that walks around suited and booted, if he's healthy enough, jogs with Secret Service, flies Air Force One, meets some of the most prominent people in the land, turns around and can go to conventions where you have triple figure digits to have your plate to sit down to hear that person speak. And he works part-time. That is the best part-time position I have ever heard in my existence. There's no part-time job that will ever beat that. 11 to 4? Sign me up. Sign me up.
Falls apart, another self-inflicted wound after he, it's like he had jumped off the building and somehow he managed to shoot himself on the way down. That's really what he did. And the lawfare against Trump has been a spectacular failure. My God, it's been amazing to watch Trump pull the inside straight on it. Not only did the American people revolt when this tactic was unleashed for the first time in our history, they know who we are. They know we're not a banana republic, that we don't settle our political disputes like this.
Yeah.
So they revolt.
She said a banana republic. Jesus Christ. Listen, I'm going to just say this. For all you guys who voted for Biden, right? For all you guys who voted for Biden, are y'all still following the philosophy of you never give up, never surrender? Are you going to be the guys that basically sticks the IV in his arm, that you're going to stick the catheter in his cock to make sure this man can still sit in office? Are y'all really going to do that? Because you still believe somehow he's going to remember with all the drugs that he takes and everything, because we know he's taking a whole bunch of drugs. Because we got Jill Biden even next to him making sure that she puts the fucking shots in the arm, right? Are we going to have people that still turn around and say, I still need him to be in for 4 more years because somewhere in the middle of them 4 years, he might remember to wipe my student loan debt because I was a detriment to society? I'm going to let that stew for a moment. No, y'all don't need your blessings. Y'all ain't gonna get your blessings. Y'all not gonna put it out there, huh? Y'all don't think it's enough? No. I'm gonna pray for y'all. Have some heavenly music. Y'all need it. Y'all absolutely need it. If you're thinking, go vote for this man for 4 more fucking years to hope that somehow in the middle of all that, he gonna remember to wipe your debt when he couldn't do it in his first 4. Y'all absolutely insane. Keep your debt and pay it off like the thousands and millions of other Americans that turn around and do it before you. Welcome.
Voted, and Trump's numbers went through the roof with Republicans. But bit by bit, they have shown they either don't care about the charges against him, like in the Stormy Daniels hush money documentation thing in New York, or they're over it. They care about January 6th, but they're over it. They've had an impeachment hearing on that. They've had the January 6th hearings on that. Their judgment has been settled already, pronounced already. We don't need a federal trial on it. So that one just died, thanks to the U.S. Supreme Court. It's all but dead. It's limping, but it's dead. The Mar-a-Lago case will go forward unless Trump wins, and then he can just pull the DOJ off of it. He'll be the president. He gets to just say, stop. The New York case is over, but for sentencing, which it's not going to be severe. If there's a jail sentence, it will be suspended. Trump's not going to serve any time in jail. None at all. And the Atlanta case got stopped thanks to Fannie Willis hopping in the sack with their co-counsel and getting out there playing the race card, saying we were all racist for pointing out what a conflict of interest this was. That's going up on appeal now. All proceedings have been stopped. He did it, Piers. He did it. And while Joe Biden is out there on his stump speech right now saying, when you get knocked down, you get back up. That's Trump's story. That's not Joe Biden's story. And again, the American people know it.
And it reminded me a bit of Mike Tyson's famous quote, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. I think Biden and his team spent a week at Camp David meticulous.
Listen, what's being stated there is an absolute truth whatsoever. And I don't understand how people want to sit there and go through this. Well, you'll probably get some people that's still out there, still wanting to go about the good fight. I'm not sure what was being said, but being that I already see Michael Knowles, who's not necessarily the biggest fan when it comes to freaking Joe Biden. I'm not sure who this young lady over here, and being Destiny, who actually is a Joe Biden supporter. I imagine something crazy is about to be said. I'm not even gonna go through the entrance. I just want to see the actual intro and see what they say.
I'm a streamer and commentator, Destiny. Right, Destiny, let me start with you. Are you going to stare down the barrel of that camera and construct any convincing argument that Joe Biden should now remain as the Democrat nominee for this election?
I think the difficult reality is your incumbent advantage is strong, and at this point, it's too late to replace him. So you're kind of stuck with him at this
It's
point.
not too late, though. There is a mechanism.
Yeah.
They can do it. They can ratify it at the convention. It's not too late. And we're going to come to Tommy in a moment, who's been saying for ages is more likely to be Gavin Newsom. I think she was right all along. And actually, I said similar things myself. It's not too late. The question is, are the Democrats, after that absolute horror story of a debate, seriously going to let this guy be the one who allows Trump to get back to the White House? That's the calculation, surely.
I mean, your strongest arguments are Biden's ran against Trump before and won, and Biden's your incumbent. You can say that it's not too late to replace him, that somebody like Gavin Newsom can run for president and he can do just as good as Biden would. But, I mean, people said the same thing, that DeSantis would represent a strong challenge to Trump, and he got absolutely obliterated. It's easy to look at a candidate that hasn't gone through the ringer, that hasn't been tested in a national level election, but who knows if Newsom comes out, there could be one or two little scandals lurking behind the curtains that now we see that gets infinite airtime over the next few months. The reality is that Biden is probably the best shot the Democrats have right now to win.
But do you genuinely believe?
Destiny, what the fuck are you doing? Listen, Destiny has said some crazy stuff, but I will say I do watch some of his debates. He's been falling off on the debating sphere, if you ask me personally. I appreciate some of the tactics that he has, but from what I'm seeing right now, this is ridiculous. Now, as much as he claims to be, I guess, centrist or moderate or whatever, just go crazy to just say that basically he would still fucking support Joe Biden after everything else. And again, you can talk about all his policies and the shit that he was involved in, and you can call him racist or whatever. When I say all this stuff, guys, I'm not talking about his entire record. I am not a person that's really engrossed in all these policies. I definitely take a look at a lot of the stuff, but I'm not a historian when it comes to every fucking politician that's ever lived, that's ever served for any type of office. But just based on what I can see from his time in Obama and a little bit beforehand, just looking at his credentials when he was actually put up as the VP, till now, there's no goddamn way I'm going to say that this man is the person who should be cooking. And Destiny's really going to still. All right, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. From what I'm hearing right now, it doesn't sound like it.
He should therefore continue and be the nominee.
I think that the Democrats should run the best candidate that they can to defeat
Well, hang
Donald
on.
Trump.
You
Yes.
keep distancing yourself from this, Destiny. Come on.
Wait,
Put your head over the
distancing myself
parapet.
from?
What do you think?
Well, I think that Joe Biden is the best candidate right now, given that he's already beaten Donald Trump in one election. I think that Joe Biden is the best candidate right now to run against Donald Trump.
You
and I think
think
that beating Donald Trump is really important.
Hang on. Sorry, I don't want to be unfair to you, Destiny, but of all the Democrats.
Before they get into that, CCD, you said the problem is that when Trump says I'm running to save America and Biden just wants to beat Trump, not for America. I agree. We don't have any history of. Well, I'm not a historian when it comes to political events. For anyone who is up here who's really strong, and I know Mayo, you're pretty strong when it comes to the history of political events going here. Do we have other people who ran as candidates for any point in time for history and turned around and said that the reason why I'm running is because I need to beat the guy that was currently in office? Like, has that ever been a thing? I know, like, if keep in mind, I believe that when things were really bad, we've at least had two presidents that when shit got real, they stepped down. But I don't see people. I definitely this time do not see people, especially in the highest line of a presidency, that turn around and say that they would actually step down, because we have a normal culture of American culture right now of just being wrong and strong. And I don't think he really understands that he should step down because his own wife I'll just say it, his own wife ain't shit. If he said, Jill, I don't think I'm doing too good right now, and she'd be like, you're doing fabulous, baby. You're on point. Even that sentence that you just gave to me was so great. Good job. You're absolutely ready to take on this presidency. Keep at it. 4 more years. Good job, Joe. Good job. I don't think there's anyone around that would turn around and advocate for this. It's abuse. It's abuse on a high scale. It's on a whole level that we turn around and say, this is the reason why there are some people in the elderly, especially if they have money, they need to be protected from their family. Because even these mofos don't have their best interest at heart. And it's crazy. So yes, I'm in agreement. I don't think that anyone should be getting in there with the idea of beating the other person. Because here's the problem with the statement, right? Here's the problem with the statement and the truth of the statement. When Trump says, I want to make America great again, that should be the statement of all presidents. Not only I want to make America great, because that means we fell below the bar and it's sad, but I want to maintain the strength of America, which has been the framework that all presidents should want to be on. When we get a president say, I want to be able to beat the other guy, you're not in it to make sure that the nation is good. And you should never been put in office in the first place. It's literally equivalent of saying, I just don't like my boss, so I'm going to do everything to get my boss fired. And I'm going to take over my boss's job, and I'm not prepared. I'm woefully unprepared. Let's just be honest. Maybe you said, let's be honest. He doesn't know what the people. I honestly agree. I agree. He doesn't. He has a complete cabinet of people who do not tell him anything. And let's be honest, he's not even in a mental capacity to be able to know to ask the question, because he's gonna follow what people have been saying. I bet you there's days where he goes in to the Oval Office and he still believes that they're in their first year. Never mind finishing out their last year. He believes they're in their first year trying to make policies to shit that doesn't exist. I'm almost convinced that has happened at some point. So here's the thing about that, CCD. We say the best president you can. That's always been a debate for a long time. Is the best president someone of experience, someone of age, someone of values when it comes to religion, someone of values when it comes to ethics, someone who's young? What exactly does that mean when we say the best president? I think because no one really wants to answer that particular question is why we also have a lot of the confusion that we get in the world. Because we can talk about the minimum qualifications. This is how old you should be to qualify, but no one ever said this is how old you should be to not be able to vote. This is where you're disqualified. Like, to be honest with you, that's just what it is. Even when you look at, you want to say the military, or you want to look at some states when it comes to the police department, they have an age requirement. You know, like for New York, we have like after, I think it's 35. It might be 35. You can't apply to be a police officer. But you have people who are still in the force, who is well out of shape, who's still working as police officers, well past in their 30s. But you're telling me, like, just say, like, say I'm 40, but I'm more fit than the motherfucker that came in his 20s, or I'll just say early 30s, since you have a 35, who is now a good rotund 250. And you're telling me I walk in, I'm not. Look at me, nowhere close to 250. You can look at my face and tell me I have never even touched the 200s. Workout, in shape, I can't be a cop? At 42, I will still run circles around this motherfucker. I can still chase down some idiot. I can still do my due diligence. You're questioning over the age versus the physical and mental capacities because, quite frankly, once you pass your fucking physical exam as a cop, you don't go back for reevaluations. It's not Quantico. And I don't even think Quantico keeps giving you reevaluation to make sure that you keep being physically fit. So I think that it should be a qualification as to what's your capacity physically and mentally, regardless of the years that you're in. And then there should be a cap threshold to say, like, just like if you're close to senior citizen status, then you should not be a cop. But the same way how we turn around and say it's never too old to go to college, even though there is, then it should be the same thing as serving for the military. It should be the same thing as serving in the police force. There should be never too old until you hit that cap. Yeah, Mayo, just like the military. But there are guys who are definitely physically fit who want to serve their country, but they're considered to be too old to enlist. But if the draft ever came, just saying. I'm just saying, there are people who have never served in any form of official authority or capacity when it comes to serving for like the military or police, but are absolutely strong in capacity, have worked in other areas that kept their mind strong, are physically fit, who can do the job. Versus all the young people who are nincompoops who don't really learn any better, or the guys who have been nincompoops since they were young and they're old, they never wanted to actually retire out. They're doing 30, 40 fucking years, 50 years in the police force, or the guys who even in the military who just never wanted to quit and they're just coming up the ranks or whatever, and they're in their 50s. No one puts a cap and just says, you too old now to be in the military, you need to go. No, they get to keep serving until proven otherwise. Proven that you're not suited to be in the position. And I think it should be the same thing for those other people. The same way how I believe it's the same thing for these politicians. There needs to be a fucking age out. You say yes, they do age out? Because I do know guys who were in their 50s and 60s who, quite frankly, they stayed in the military. I don't know anyone who's ever been serving in the 70s. I'll just say that much. But I do know a guy, he left at 61, 60, something like that. Very few are allowed past 40, which is crazy. Because at 40, you can still be very much fit. Very much so. I wouldn't say put somebody in at 55, but at 40, you're still good. In my opinion, you're still good. I agree there should be an age, but I think when we keep talking about the conditions and quality of life and we consider faculties as well as physical prowess, I think there should be strong considerations to raise the age. I think there really should be. I have yet to run across people who I've coached and trained in my 40s, in my late 30s, who outdid me, and they were in their 20s, mid 20s, early 30s, who outdid me. And that's not even to say to myself that I will always be that way. But it's like, if I got the mofos who, with their youth and their intellect, couldn't outdo someone who was like, they're looking at me like, how can you do that? And I'm like, so let me ask a question. Quick question to you guys. I'll have teams in a row from as young as 22 all the way to freaking 38, and I'm sitting there at freaking 40 something, and I'm going, let me just ask our simple question, and they get stumped on this. And I'm gonna ask this question to you guys, and I want you guys to really sit there and think about this. You can answer quick if you actually know the answer. When was the last time you recall jumping? I mean, feet off the ground fully. When was the last time you jumped? Most people are afraid to get off of the ground. Most people are afraid of gravity. When was the last time you actually jumped? Not a quick skip, hop, jumped. Not to save your life or anything, just jumped. Just a whoop, jumped. There's so many people from 20s to 30s to web, they can't remember the last time they did that. That's a really simple requirement that I ask. Hey, when was the last time you jumped? This is a question. Because if you can't recall in your 20s and your 30s when the last time you jumped, you immediately told me so much about your physical fitness. I don't give a shit how much you lift. If you cannot run to save your life, you are useless. In the event of a crisis, you are useless. You are useless to me. The equivalent of saying, I can't remember the last time I jumped is also saying that I don't remember how many stairs I can climb. I'm happy that that happens for you, sir. You can make an accounting yesterday. Because I can also say today. I can also say yesterday. And I can also say the day before that. No, probably the day before that, yeah. The other day before that. I can say that because I don't remember the day before that. It's part of a routine for me. But there are people who cannot recall the last time they jumped. And it's a simple task. Simple thing to do. Don't tell me that you can go to the gym, but you could tell me that you can't remember the last time you jumped. When's the last time you physically tried to go up against gravity and feet landed on the floor, didn't break your ankle or anything? Didn't fall on someone else. Oh, Lord. Slam into some other, old lady. And a lot of people don't have the answer. They say, they go, the last time I jumped. The last time I jumped. Can I get back to you on that? Can I get back to you on that? That's a damn shame. That's a damn shame. Don't tell me 13. That's a damn shame. You should be able to, at any moment's notice, just for the fucking sake of it, jump on your man's back for a piggyback ride. And he needs to be fit enough to be able to hold you there. All right? And I say this to people, men and women. You don't remember the last time you jumped? Oh, I jumped so much when I was a kid. I used to get carried and be on the playground and everything. But you can't recall recently? You can tell me about what you ate. You can tell me about how it was when you was taking a dump. You can tell me about all that shit, but you don't remember the last time you actually jumped. Not fell. Because people could tell me the last time they fell down the steps, but they don't remember the last time they jumped. Period. I didn't say play hopscotch, double dutch, none of that. I just said jumped. That's not even a question that they watch other children do and they go, interesting. When's the last time I did that? I know plenty of women that it doesn't matter if they weigh $120 to the point where they weigh $185. They get scared when a man who is physically fit picks them up because they all believe they're heavy because they're all afraid of gravity. Tell me I'm lying. To you ladies watch it, tell me I'm lying. Y'all all think you're fucking heavy as a brick, a cinder block. Why? Because you don't know when's the last time you jumped. Because you know somewhere in your mind you don't think that you're physically fit. I'm gonna let y'all sit on that. Ooh, I can't stand him. Ooh, I'm gonna strike his channel down. Ooh, how dare he say this about me? Yeah, I said it, and y'all know it's true.
In America, how many are there? I mean, tens of millions, right? Of all of them, you think Joe Biden right now, after that debate, is the best candidate the party can produce? Seriously?
I'm sure there are better candidates, but it's not about who the best candidate is. It's about who you know the best candidate is. I'm sure that you could flip a coin and find somebody that might end up performing better. But again, look at how many people have these huge reputations. Look at Cuomo and how he was destroyed after a couple scandals. Like, you have no idea if you take a candidate who looks strong. And I admit, Newsom looks strong. He's amazing on-stage presentation and everything. But who knows if you throw him up that there are just one or two accusations or one or two scandals or one or two things that the American public doesn't know about that now dominates the news cycle for the next few months. And even though he was a strong candidate on paper, like DeSantis, he disappears.
Okay, Tommy Loan, you've been waiting patiently, actually for several years, to say what I think you're about to say, which is that, of course, they should get rid of Biden and try and parachute in somebody like Newsom. I mean, do you feel a bit vindicated by what's been going on?
I feel very vindicated, but I'll also say, Piers, I hope that they run Joe Biden. That would be the easiest contest for Donald Trump to beat, would be Joe Biden.
Right.
So as much as I do believe they're going to select another candidate, I hope that they maintain with Joe Biden. I hope that that's their guy. And if that is the strongest candidate you have in the Democrat Party, that says a lot about the Democrat Party. Last week's debate performance was horrifying. It was horrifying as an American to watch because, like it or not, this guy still represents the United States of America. And as an American, although I didn't vote for Joe Biden and I will never vote for Joe Biden, that is still my president. And our enemies and our allies watched that, and it was horrifying. Not only the mumbles and the bumbles and the losing the train of thought. At one point, Joe Biden said that people are getting raped by their in-laws and their sisters. He had one opportunity to dunk on the issue of abortion, where he really could get the eyes and ears of the American public that's very divided on that issue, and he chose to say that people are getting raped by their sisters. So that was a horrible performance. I think they've got to go with somebody else. And what I think is so interesting here is that of all the names being floated, I'm not hearing Vice President Kamala Harris on the tip of the tongue of any leading Democrat. I'm hearing Gavin Newsom, I'm hearing Gretchen Whitmer, I'm hearing a couple of other names being floated, but nobody's really saying Vice President Kamala Harris, and that's got to sting.
We have a little clip, which is a mashup. There's a much longer version of about 4 minutes of her repeating the same line. This is a little bit of it. Watch this.
What could be, unburdened by what had been.
What can be, unburdened by what has been. What can be, unburdened by what has been. What
can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be.
That is my girl Cam Cam.
By what has been. What we can see, what we believe can be, unburdened by what has been. What can be, unburdened by what has been. I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know?
I mean, Tommy, you posted that on X. I mean,
that is my
this
girl.
Goes on for 4 minutes. It's about all she ever says. And there's an irony, because the one thing she would be is burdened by what has gone on before. Because if there's anyone in America or Democrat Party more unpopular than Joe Biden, it is Kamala Harris.
Yeah, Piers, and that's why they...
What can be, to mention how Tyra is unburdened to her, but has been, and she's already seen it. What can be has already happened and is unburdened by what has been. Because here's the something, I said this before, I'll say it again. We talk about all these different candidates who could be the Democratic nominee to replace Joe Biden. But the name you don't hear is Cam Cam. How does that make you feel? Kamala, how do you feel about that? That everybody talks about a possible suitable replacement for, quote, the guy who's above you, but you're not mentioned. It's gotta sting just a little bit. Just saying.
They keep jacking up Joe to get him through each and every single day is because the thought of Kamala Harris terrifies them even more than dementia Joe. She also says things about the passage of time and how it passes. I mean, she has no excuse. She doesn't have cognitive decline or dementia to fall back on. She is just that bad.
That hurts.
So I think that's why they've been maintaining Joe for so long. It's because of Kamala. But boy, they're going to have to face that reality sooner than later.
Yeah, Francesca, look, we've talked about this before, but there must be a painful moment right now for a lot of people who are Democrats, right? Where your guy is just clearly has now been exposed as, I would argue, as somebody who's not got a horse in the race, I'm British, I just think has exposed himself as unfit for the highest office in the land. But what do? There are 5 months left of the election. You either allow him to limp on, and I believe if that's the case, get crushed by Trump, or you try and parachute somebody else in, which carries with it, as Destiny was saying, its own risks.
Yeah, no, there's massive risks of replacing Joe Biden. That being said, I do think he should be replaced. And interestingly, Hunter Biden is the one family member that wants Joe Biden to not run again.
Why would anyone listen to him? I mean,
well,
it's
I think it's more I'm just saying
they're
it's
listening to Hunter Biden, the
he
crack
just wants
addict?
a single day without the right on his dick, because they love to spread photos of it and show it on congressional floors. But look, politically, here's where I stand. I wanted Bernie, not Weekend at Bernie's. I think we all need to just lay that out there. I put this squarely at the feet of the Democratic Party. They ran a piss poor candidate in 2016. They ran in 2020, and yes, they did win. There was a trifecta. There was a COVID-19 pandemic going on at the time, and Obama made that call, and everybody fell in line. But is Joe Biden the best candidate this time around? Absolutely not. And I think it is depressing and enraging to millions of Americans who the only person they hate more than Joe Biden and Kamala Harris maybe is Donald Trump, right? Is the fact that you have everything going against Donald Trump, not just the fact that he will pass a national abortion ban, the fact that he wants to implement Project 2025 and abolish the Department of Education.
Here's the problem.
Let me finish.
But that isn't true. He's not said he wants to pass a national abortion ban. So, see, when I hear Democrats do that, it reminds me of Trump's the new Hitler. It's like, why exaggerate? Why go too far? He's never said he wants a national abortion ban.
Pay attention to the news that's happening right now. The far-right takeover of the judicial system in this country is already underway. And just today, they allowed a president to have immunity, total immunity, which means the Jack Smith case
Actually, it
against
wasn't
Donald
total
Trump
immunity. See,
doesn't go forward.
Francesca, look, with respect, again, you're massively exaggerating. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled
go to Project 2025
let me
and tell me
clarify
what it
for
says,
viewers,
Piers.
right? You said they've given him total immunity. They haven't. The Supreme Court ruled that Donald Trump is partially immune from prosecution for actions taken while he was in the White House. They said that while the president's immune from criminal prosecution for official acts taken in office, he is not immune for unofficial acts. Big difference to total immunity. So
Sure,
again, why exaggerate?
There is nothing to exaggerate here. What
You
I'm
just
saying
did about abortion and immunity.
So he's immune from stealing White House secrets after he leaves the office. Is that what you're saying? It's okay for him
You
to
mean
keep
like Joe
classified
Biden?
Wait, Joe Biden did that. Stop.
Yeah, Joe Biden, in which when he was told, he was like, oh, here you go. Look, I'm not here to defend Joe Biden. You're trying to get on me. All
Sounds
I'm saying
like
is Donald Trump represents a far worse threat to the American people. And Joe Biden's a terrible messenger for his own damn campaign. He can't even articulate the fact that unemployment was at its lowest rate last year.
Yeah,
Since the year 1969.
I agree. Look, he couldn't
The
articulate.
economy is actually doing quite well under Joe Biden.
Of course.
But the guy can't put his mouth around the words.
And he had a
it sucks
perfectly
because-
good attack line on Trump about abortion if he could remember what it was supposed to be. But he couldn't.
Right.
Michael Knowles, let me
Absolutely.
bring Michael. He'll be waiting very patiently. I mean, look, I think what was extraordinary, 65% of people who watched that debate thought Trump was a winner. Trump hasn't seen approval like that as a politician.
In a
right?
long
so
time.
that showed you how bad it was. And incredibly, 30% of people who watched it thought that Biden won, which just goes to show how deep partisan tribalism runs, right? Because even Joe Biden knows, even Barack Obama said he had a bad night. What happens here? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I have to correct my friend Francesca here, who says the only person that Americans hate more than Biden is Trump. That isn't true. That's why Biden proposed the debate in the first place, is because his numbers just were not strong enough against Trump, and it completely backfired on him. However, I'm with Destiny. I agree that Biden is the best nominee for the Democrats right now. I still don't think he beats Trump, but who else are they going to pick? As we've said, Kamala, no way. Michelle Obama's not going to run, and she's not nearly as popular as people say she is. Gavin Newsom, I don't think that Patrick Bateman plays in Peoria, okay? I don't think Gavin Newsom wins Michigan. I don't think he wins Pennsylvania. Who? Mayor Pete? Who are we going to get? Are we going to dig up Al Gore? Is he going to run? There is no better candidate for them right now. The problem is that Joe Biden also can no longer be the nominee because the entire liberal establishment has just admitted he's not fit for the job. The biggest problem right now for Biden is
that's the truth.
He has admitted it. You know, we heard in 2020 that his obvious slips and gaffes and memory lapses were just the recurrence of a childhood stutter that had disappeared for the first 47 years of his political career. But there it came roaring back in 2019. And now even Biden is admitting, he says,
we already proved that wrong. We proved that wrong on Saturday, guys. I showed you the stark difference between Joe Biden 8 years ago versus the Joe Biden that we have currently today. I showed you that. I showed you how Joe Biden was when he was just having his talks against Trump versus how he was having them now. Large difference in just a good 4 years. Well, more than 4 years now. But they are almost 8 years. Like, come on now. Large difference. Like, come on now. Come on.
I don't talk as well as I used to. I don't debate as well as I used to. But doggone it, the one thing I can do is tell the truth, which rings hollow when even CNN had to go on a 3-minute diatribe, a litany of all the lies that he told during that Thursday debate. And not to forget that Joe Biden dropped out of the 1988 presidential race because of dishonesty. So the question now is, if Destiny and I are correct, and he just is the nominee, then how does the New York Times, how does Politico, how does Washington Post, how does the entire liberal establishment campaign for this guy after admitting he's not fit to be president?
When you and Destiny basically agree, that's when you know how bad this situation is, right? I just want to bring in Fox News medical contributor Dr. Mark Siegel quickly. Dr. Mark, great to see you. And the reason I wanted to talk to you was because we've got a clip. This is Biden debating before the 2020 election and Biden debating now. I want you to watch this and just give an assessment of what we think may be happening here.
I don't think I'm special, but did someone from Pierce's team just pretty much take a look at my show and said, we want to do that? Resla, like, he's this known, content creator, but he showed the difference in 2020 versus Joe Biden now. You know what? Pen this shit down. We gonna take this from Resla and we just gonna coin it as our own and we gonna give it to Piers. I think this is what happened. I might be reading a little bit more into it. I'm not trying to be cocky, but I did think of that kind of early. I just want to put that out there.
I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
I just gave $28 billion to our farmers.
Taxpayers' money.
It's what?
Taxpayers' money.
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, that's what you're. Anyway, just take a look at what he says he is, and take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6.
I mean, I play golf off 16, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I would bet $100,000 to a charity of President Biden's choice that I could give him a shot a hole rather than him giving me 10 shots, and I'd still beat it. This idea he was ever a 6 handicapper is ludicrous. But Dr. Mark, there are so many clips that people are comparing.
Did you see how upset she was? Like, she was like, like, I'm talking about the chick right in that freaking right corner, top right corner. Oh, you saw how upset she was? She had to rub her temple like, ooh, the woo-sah, the woo-sah. She couldn't believe that they were playing this about Joe.
And I'd
Look at
still
this.
beat it.
Look at this.
Idea he was ever a 6 handicapper is ludicrous. But Dr. Mark, there are so many clips that people are comparing to 4 years ago to 8 years ago of Joe Biden in debates where he sounds previously whip smart, really on it, dynamic and so on, eloquent, articulate. That person no longer exists. What is likely to be happening here?
I'm glad you used the word likely, because obviously I haven't examined about Piers. First of all, everyone out there needs to know that he's going to be the last to know. Any neurologist will tell you he's going to be the last to admit it. Those around him will see him faltering. They'll see him having problems with speech, searching for words, not following a sentence from beginning to end, saying ridiculous things, saying offensive things, getting irritated when he's contended with. That's a sign of growing cognitive impairment. He's going to be the last to admit it. And then his wife steps in and starts speaking for him, reminiscent of Woodrow Wilson, when he couldn't rule the country and his wife was taking instruction and running the country. That was probably the scariest thing of all. I think that there's a lot of risks he has here for dementia. One, he has an irregular heartbeat, and that irregular heartbeat can lead to silent ischemia, silent strokes. He walks with this gait that looks neurologic to a lot of neurologists, that there's a problem with his gait. That goes back to what's going on up here. Does he have fluid on his brain? Some neurologists have said he could have an atypical Parkinson's. He's got something going on. And here's something that none of your expert panel yet said, and they're expert. I love this panel you have. Piers, never mind whether he's going to run or not. Can he be president now?
Right.
He doesn't have cognitive reserve. What happens if we get a phone call in the middle of the night, that famous phone call in the middle of the night? There's a nuclear threat going on. You want this fumbling idiot to actually address that? And of course, you know, Tommy was right. The world leaders are watching this, but how about our own national security?
Yeah, well, I was struck by the briefing that came out saying, you know what, he's pretty good between like 9 and 4 o'clock, which is why all the clips of him out there speaking, like the next day he was out and sounded pretty different. And I was like, well, that's fine, right to the point that he has to apply his finger to the nuclear trigger at 6 o'clock or 9 o'clock or midnight. I mean, if we get the guy who was on that debate stage at the wrong moment, I wouldn't trust him to run a bath, let alone run a military order.
That's a great point. You know, if he's sundowning, he can't run the country after 6 p.m. And then the White House is saying he has a cold. Well, excuse me, I've had colds and I still can carry a train of thought. Cold medicine. I take Dayquil sometimes and I'm fine. I can think clearly with Mucinex. I mean, whatever they gave him, if it impairs him to the point where he can't speak clearly or think clearly, he can't run the country.
Is there a mechanism under... If it turned out, for example, that he genuinely has got a deteriorating dementia that is quite aggressive, and this gets medically diagnosed now as a result of this debate, is there a mechanism for his removal that you're aware of from the office of president? I mean, 25th Amendment, does that cover it?
Yes, the 25th Amendment covers it. And to your point, I want to point out that his last physical that he had in February,
which is what I said. There's at least been 2 who have turned around and stepped down, but because of the kind of culture we have now, it's, again, even in his own statement, LA, listen, you mentioned it. He said it already early today before you really showed up. We don't surrender. We don't give up. This man is not going to do that. And on top of that, even if he was to do so, everybody else in his party will pretty much say, keep going. Starting with the very first person he lays down with, Jill. She's going to have this man running into the ground. Yeah, you're still capable. You can do it, Joe. That's a good boy, Joe. That's a good boy, Joe.
I have been asking for years now, and Tommy, the same thing. I've been asking for years now for a full assessment. They didn't give it. They danced around it. No MRI scan was listed. A lot of dementias would show up on an MRI, and no formal cognitive testing has been done. I think there could be a demand for that right now. What does his MRI show? If he's impaired, then there would be a case for removing him now.
Yeah, I completely agree. Dr. Mark.
Interesting, because like with all this has been happening, it should have been automatic cited on him that he needs to go ahead and get an MRI scan. The fact that we let it even go this long now, we let a week go by now, and no one is actually asking for an MRI scan, and we're not already hearing that. I wonder if the press has actually heard anything about this now. And actually, there was wait, let me go back to my feed. Hold up. I think there was a press thing that took place today. Even though you got to worry about Corinne because, you know, she lies like a motherfucker. She does anything to keep her job. She is something else. She handles that press and they eat whatever. Lord knows she lies. She lied like crazy. Hold up. I just pulled it out a moment ago. Here we go. Here it is. Let's see if they said anything. This was today, so it's 4 hours ago. Somebody must mention the fact that he was.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Somebody must have mentioned a PET scan or something.
I have a couple things at the top. So I want to begin by sharing that Biden-Harris administration is announcing a significant new security assistance package for Ukraine as the United States continues to support Ukraine's defense against Russia's invasion. This announcement is the 7th security assistance package that President Biden has authorized to help Ukraine since he signed the National Security Supplemental in April. It includes missiles for Ukraine's air defense systems, ammunition for high mobility artillery, rocket systems, artillery rounds, and other critical capabilities that are being drawn down from U.S. stocks using presidential drawdown authorities. It also includes new funding that the Department of Defense will use to purchase interceptors for Patriot and NASAM air defense systems to help Ukraine defend its troops and
My
its
fault, y'all.
cities
Y'all didn't
against
see the
Russia's
video. My
aerial
fault.
attacks. The United States' support over the last few months has been critical in helping Ukraine defend their territory against Russia's advances. Thanks to the bravery of the Ukrainian forces and weapons deliveries from the United States and our allies and partners, it is increasingly clear the Russian offensive around Kharkiv has been a failure. And as President Biden has been clear, we are committed to continuing to stand with Ukraine until they prevail against Russian aggression. So I want to share a bit of additional updates before for all of you before we start. I know some of you have been trying to confirm some of this information that I'm about to share, so I'll do it right now at the podium. The president has connected with Leader Jeffries, Senate Majority Leader Schumer, Representative Clyburn, former Speaker Pelosi, and Senator Coons. Today, President Biden taped 2 Black radio interviews that will air tomorrow morning. One is with Earl Ingram on Civic Media Network, which airs across Wisconsin, and one with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD's The Source in Philadelphia. And as Governor Walz of Minnesota announced today, the president will meet with more than 20 Democratic governors. Now, as you know, these governors are some of our closest partners when it comes to creating jobs, building new roads and building bridges and so much more. And so the president certainly looks forward to meeting with them. And with that, I am happy to take your questions. Sungmin.
Last night at the fundraiser, the president blamed jet lag for his debate performance, but he was back stateside for well over a week. So does he really need more than a week and a half to recover from traveling in Europe? And is that really what he thinks caused his poor debate performance?
So, yeah, just a couple of things, and I do appreciate the question because you know, the president has certainly spoken to this many times about the debate, and so he had an opportunity to do that in front of supporters. And as you just stated,
what supporters?
He talked about, he owned that the debate was not his best night, and he said himself, it's not an excuse, but it's an explanation. I was standing here yesterday, and many people were asking why and what's the explanation.
That's not an explanation.
That's what you heard from him. Look. The two,
so he didn't give you an explanation.
In addition to the 2 major trips, he was also continued to do his presidential duties. He worked late in doing that,
which
and
are
he also prepared for the debate. And on
he continued doing his presidential duties between 11 and 4. Best part-time job ever. To say what? What are y'all here lying about? What are you out here lying about? He said that basically he was doing his it was not an explanation. He did a little bit of stumble. It wasn't his best performance. You know, he gave that as an excuse, but it's not an excuse. Heifer, that's an excuse. Yo, this woman, she stay lying. Miss Jean-Pierre, stay lying.
Top of that, there was obviously the jet lag, as you just asked about, and also he had a cold. And you all heard directly, you heard from him during the debate. He had a hoarse voice.
Exactly.
Many of you reached out to me and my team and some other members of the White House asking what was going on.
Oh, he was sick.
That he had a cold. And so I think those 2 things, continuing obviously to do his duties as commander-in-chief, as the president. And so
Wait. Hold. So a little bit of a cold, some sniffles, a, a cough, and some mucinex stopped him from doing his duty as commander-in-chief from 11 to 4. Why do we tolerate her? How did she get to keep her job for so long?
Some of you here in this room can certainly relate to,
Nobody in the press going to challenge that.
What could happen when you're having an important moment and you're not feeling well, and also you wish you could have done better. And so he took ownership. I think that's important, and he's going to continue to make a strong case for his.
You can't take ownership when someone else has to take you by the hand.
Agenda, and that's what you're going to see. And he was given an explanation, and that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to get that out there and for people to hear directly from him, as he has been doing since Friday of last week.
It just seems like I know you're calling it explanation, not an excuse, but it does seem like there are new excuses since the debate of what went wrong there.
I would say I don't think it's a new excuse. I think some of your colleagues reached out to us about the schedule. Some of your colleagues asked if the schedule was too strenuous or was
he
it
had a
because of
week.
the jet lag.
Strenuous? He had a week.
So we are laying
He had
out
the best.
And explaining exactly what happened. You heard from the president. You've heard from me, and it was indeed a
he had the best coaching him.
Schedule where the president traveled 6
Even
time
on
zones
Air Force
forward
One,
to G7
Camp
in Italy,
David,
9 time zones back to LA, and 3 time zones forward again to DC. That's something that one of the print pooler on that day laid out for all of you and those who read the pool notes. And on top of that, he did have a cold. So it is an explanation. I don't think it is an addition. I don't think it's. We certainly don't want to explain this away. But you all asked me for an explanation yesterday. The president.
To my fellas, because I've heard so many excuses when it comes to Joe Biden. The first excuse I heard, probably not the first, but very close to the first excuse I heard, is that Joe Biden's faculty's mental capacity is not falling because you know why? He's still like Chevy. He's like a rock, which I don't want to ever have an image in my mind of Joe Biden putting it down on Jill. To the point where we're at now, where we say that he can barely hold down an 11 to 4 job with a cold. Guys, at any point, whether it was a part-time job or a double shift, could we turn around and lay down with a woman, giving her whatever the stroke that we could give her, and then say, I'm sorry, girl. I couldn't give you my best because I had this cold, girl. And that be acceptable. If we can't accept that in the normal, everyday world, we cannot give the President of the United States that out. Can't do it. And we're going to allow this heifer to lie to the press and to ourselves, because this was live 4 hours ago. We're going to let that slide after you turned around and said, probably not when he was 81, but probably when he was 79, that he was out there still beating the guts out, to saying that now the common cold, he should have had a little bit of shots up his nose, and it prevented him from doing a debate that didn't even have a freaking live audience, just everybody online. And he still fumbled. He still slipped it up. Come on now.
The president gave that directly yesterday to his supporters. He wanted to make sure, knowing that all of you would get that information as he's speaking to his supporters last night. Sure.
You mentioned all the calls that he has made in your topper. Why wasn't he doing that on Friday? And why wasn't he doing this sort of damage control? Why was he waiting to do that until middle of this week?
I mean, look, I was asked a similar question by one of your colleagues yesterday. And look, the president obviously right after the debate, he visited 4 states in 2.5 days, gave a couple of remarks. He met with supporters, whether at the Waffle House, or in Atlanta at a watch party, or in North Carolina where there were hundreds of supporters there in Raleigh. And so he was busy dealing with his schedule, and also speaking directly and engaging with his supporters, and then spend time with his family. I think what's important is that he has done this outreach. He's having these conversations. It is important to him to do so. And the folks that I laid out that he spoke to some of them have been his colleagues. Some of them have been elected officials that he's known for some time. Obviously, Leader Jeffries is a new relationship that he has, someone that he obviously respects, and so it is. I think it's important to note that they were strong conversations. That's something that the president told me and my team directly moments ago. He was walking around, and we happened to see the president, and he said they were strong conversation. And by the way, he looks great. The vice president's great, and they are ready to continue working on behalf of the American people. Okay, so.
Thank you, Corinne.
Whatever that looks like.
Is President Biden considering stepping down?
Absolutely not. And you heard, I believe, directly from the campaign as well.
Given the groundswell of concern from fellow Democrats.
We heard it, folks. He doesn't plan on stepping down, and we don't even know if this is really his words, because I don't believe anything that ever flies out this woman's mouth at all. Not even a little bit. There's no way. And to hear that he ain't stepping down because he got everybody else that said that we can't step down because what are we going to do with our jobs?
From donors, from supporters. Doesn't he owe it to the American public to reflect on whether he should step down?
I mean, look, very much into Sung-Min's question, in my answer to her question, where he had an opportunity to talk to supporters. He's done it a couple times at this point and laid out what happened on that
2
night.
times.
Talked about how he understands, and it was not his best night. He understands that it is fair for people to ask that question. But we cannot forget his record and what he's been able to do. We cannot forget how he's been able to deliver for the American people for almost 4 years.
His sickness is on the record. So when we say we can't forget his record, that is an update on his record. Liar.
That matters too. And he has the most
That matters too.
historic record administration, the most in modern politics.
Lies.
That should matter. And he wants to continue to do that work. And, a lot of what's on his agenda is very much popular with majority of the American people, whether it's continuing to build a strong economic policies. He's done that. Creating new jobs. He's done that. 15 million jobs. He wants to work on that and continue to do that. And so he wants to continue to deliver, expanding healthcare. All of these things he believes is important. Majority of Americans believe it's important. And his record, he wants to make sure that people do not forget about the record that he's been able to lay on behalf of the American people.
Is there anything, Corinne, that would change his mind?
Look,
and she doesn't think that that's a question that's a very important one when they literally say, you don't think there's anything we can say to change his mind? This motherfucker gotta go. He gotta go. He gotta go. There's no way we could persuade him. What if we all did a big a donation? What if we did a GoFundMe to get this motherfucker out the office? You think there's no way we can bribe this motherfucker to get out the office? Huh? You don't think that, Corinne? We can't get him out?
I cannot lay out something that would change the president's mind. He has been very clear.
Clear is one of the things he has not been, madam. That is far stretched from what he has been of late.
And he's going to continue to build on the unprecedented record that he's been able to lay out for the American people. That's his focus right now. Gotcha.
Thank you, Corinne. What does the president do outside the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m.?
Well, you heard him speak to supporters yesterday outside of 4 p.m. You saw the president land in North Carolina in the middle of the night at 2 o'clock. What was he doing? He was greeting supporters, hundreds of supporters that showed up to cheer him on after the debate. You saw him speaking at 9 o'clock or at night in New York in front of supporters. So he's been pretty much out there after the hours of 4 p.m. and before.
So what I just heard, ladies and gentlemen, the president, the sitting acting president, he is a glorified news anchor. He's a glorified commentator. What he does past the hours of basically 11 and 4, she said 10, 11 and 4, is talk to people. He doesn't run a nation. He flies places and talks to people. He talks to supporters, donors. He talks to people. Like, he did no actual, he didn't talk about policies. He didn't speak to people about things that's going on the floor. She didn't say he sits at his desk, God forbid, and goes through bills and things that are being passed from Congress. He travels and talks. And we've seen through videos how much talking he does. He wanders off, even in the middle of fucking photo shoots. Really? And again, who's going to question her? Who there in the Associated Press are going to fucking question her?
Before 10 a.m. for sure. And so that has been something he has consistently done over the past couple of days for sure, for certain.
Have an afternoon nap every day.
Let me be very clear about this. This is a president that wakes up every morning and puts the American people first. That's what he does.
He wakes up,
every
God
single
willing.
day. That is his focus. I am not going to speak to sources out there, unnamed sources out there. That's not what I'm going to speak to. I'm going to speak to what I know, what this president does, and how he is committed to the work of the president, of the commander-in-chief. And his record clearly lays that out and speaks
No,
to
ma'am.
and that's what he's going to continue to do. The American people first, and delivering for them.
Can you also clarify Sungmin's question?
Sure.
I mean, how is it that the
Waking
president
up
was
first,
still tired,
not
12
shitting on
days
himself
after
second.
returning from Europe,
American people is like
had a cold, but
6.
then went to the Waffle House, and then the following day staged such a huge comeback that he gave those North Carolina remarks.
It
Like,
is for
help
him.
us understand.
He's at that age.
Of course it had a
Okay,
cold
so
before,
you
but
probably come on, Jackie. Let's be very. Let's be.
12 days after he returned, though,
But
and
you
he blamed
also
jet lag yesterday.
Hold on a second. There's a cold. There's a jet lag. You combine that. He continues to work on for the American people.
I've had both. And listen, I'll be the one to say, when I get a cold, I am a little bitch. Because I am barely ever getting sick. When I get sick, it is a national crisis to me. I get sick, I lock down. I don't want to do anything. It's like, it is literally dropping me into a war zone. There's tissues everywhere. There's snot blowing. It's nasty. Listen, I've told my chick, leave me. Forget about me. Leave me for dead. I can't do it. Just remember I was a good man. Just say that at my eulogy. When I get sick, it is disgusting because the rest of the time, I am good. I can go through the whole season of winter, fall. I have no allergies, nothing. I watch everybody else dying around me, even during COVID. Watch everybody literally just going through a whole bunch of shit. I know it's wrong to say that, but whatever. Going through everything around me. Nobody could really hold up what's going on. And I am fine. Fine. I am cocky with it even. I will kick in the door and walk into a place where they turn around and say, you can't be here. It's a pandemic. It's a pandemic. People were sneezing all over the freaking machines. And I go, I's immune. I got strong genes. Go back and take your antihistamines. I am good. But somehow when something sneaks in and I get sick, it's a wrap. I feel like Bruce Willis in Invincible. I am good. Just keep me away from a puddle of water. And she wanted to turn around and say that because of jet lag and having a common cold, it did him in.
People day in and day out around the clock. things happen. Things happen. And the cold thing is something that you all pointed out during his debate. We didn't even point that out. You all pointed out when you heard his voice being hoarse, because he knew he had to push through. He knew he has to power through. That's what presidents do. If you care about this country and you don't care about yourself, you care about the American people, you care about delivering for this country, you care about how you're going to continue to work every day in and day out, you push through. We've all do that.
Because all these Democrats
We've
who are
all
saying
do
they want
that.
to see him,
But
it speaks to that.
But we didn't share that information ahead of time. You all asked what was going on, and then we shared that information. We didn't use that before the debate. You all asked, hey, is he under the weather? And we confirmed that he was under the weather. He pushed through. That's what this president does. He is going to continue to fight for the American people. So he pushed through it. I think anybody who does that, not just the president, should be commended. And he also said, you heard him say this on Friday, when you get knocked down, you get back up.
I don't want to hear no more of this lies from the chick. I listen. I don't know if they'll ever bring up. I can't with this woman. I can't with this woman. You even have. I'm looking at right now. You got the speaker. Literally, you got the speaker of the House, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be favorable.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is a historic week in America, a historic day in the House. A lot going on, so I thought I'd come out and give you a little bit of an update. Everyone here on Capitol Hill is talking about the debate last night, as I know all of you are, and everyone is around the country. It was a stark display, a big contrast between the two candidates for president. I think what everybody has seen now with their own two eyes, what they've all witnessed in a almost surprising fashion
I just need
for
to
some.
hear you. I just need to hear you
I'm not
say
sure
it.
why it was surprising to them, because we've been saying this for a long time, but there was only one man on that stage who is capable and qualified of being elected president in the next term, and his name is Donald J. Trump. And
That's all I need to hear. Quite frankly, that's all I need to hear. There's no one on this man's side. It doesn't matter if you're sitting as a Democrat or Republican. You know, I think the only person that might have tried to cover for him was Destiny. Destiny. That's pretty much it. I mean, there are people out there that they said they don't care if if they have to hide him away because he went in a coma. And they gotta prop him up like freaking Bernie from Weekend at Bernie's, that they'll still vote for him. I have gotten so much crap that's happened on my feed because of that. And I think it's crazy. And I'm tired of these people being out there and just lying on a regular basis. A regular basis. As if nothing is wrong with this man. As if somehow what he's dealing with is something that we all deal with in a younger age, in a young to middle age. We're not. Well, the reason why everybody's pointing it out is because we can see frailty. What's going on here? This man is barely making his rounds, and you're acting like it's normal. And the fact that you feel that it's okay to do this, I think is some of the most egregious stuff that I've seen. Now, I do want to cover something. Wait. Oh, this was gonna be good in LA. This might be up your alley, sir. This is something that's just sitting here on my timeline. We got to take a look at this now. Now, LA, I'm not saying this is you now. I'm not saying this is you. But we might have to have a talk since, you trying to go out to the DR, So now we got to have a talk about basically how Dominican women are feeling about living beyond their means and how they look at the men as possibly sugar daddies. Sugar daddies. Oh, she showcasing the whole life. Don't give a fuck.
Difficult it was, for my parents when we were younger to really provide for us, really made me want to continue with my education. Because, and also seeing a lot of things that happened with some of my friends with respects to men, at a very young age, I was just like, I got to finish my education. I got to go as far as I can because I can't, if I have kids, I can't depend on any man. That was very clear to me when I was very young. Knowing that even when people say you can't do it, that you can. That you can, you know, and doing it. Doing it.
We
That's
don't
just sometimes.
need us as a woman. We don't need a man to be who we want to be in the future.
In less than a minute, I just heard women talking about that we don't need a man twice. LA, you sure you're going out to the DR for the right reasons? I don't know. It seems like the indoctrination has slipped in pretty well right now. And I'm saying it for anybody, not even just LA. I'm just talking about the men that just want to go over to the foreign land for the passport bros too. You sure? It seems like feminism is spreading wide, and it seems to be pretty strong because neighboring islands are getting hit. They are. How long before this reaches Thailand? How long before this reaches the Philippines?
You just need, you only need to make a goal in life. Make a goal.
Make a goal, because y'all never
ask
had
yourself
goals.
who you want to be.
Never
and
had
where
goals.
You want to go,
No.
and you're able to do it.
Where you want to go? Just believe, manifest is what y'all learning.
Place, you not only see
Hair salon, manifesting. There we go.
Here, you also see the woman that came from New York to selling
New York.
or perfumes or and the weekends you're gonna see
Sephora.
one or two women
Mary
besides
Kay.
the regular employees to washing the hair, doing the rollers, cleaning the floor because it's an opportunity for them to show themselves that they can work, that they don't need wait for nobody to have any money. And why I do that because I believe in opportunities and more than
Do you believe in opportunities or do you believe in worshiping the dollar? Who's your God? Because it sounds like it's the almighty dollar. Is it really an opportunity to say that you want to build a life for yourself or have some sense of freedom when really everything you're talking about is just about being a wage slave? I didn't hear anything about quality of life or anything. I just heard everything that it would take for you to earn money so that you don't have to worry about anyone else paying the bills. You are literally advocating for yourself, taking on all the privileges and responsibilities on your own. I, as a guy now, as much as I can pay for whatever, I still would have no problem sharing that and having less of a burden rather than sitting this, I just be all by myself. And then talking about later on how difficult it is when you're getting older and then turn around and think that you're going to compete in the freaking 21-year-old clubs. The 21 to 24-year-old clubs. Come on.
that I believe in the community. I believe that if we work together, we can make a difference.
She's in the hair salon.
We don't change the whole world, but we change communities.
The world. She's in the world.
Parte de esta charla es demostrar cómo nosotras las mujeres dominicanas somos capaces de salir adelante sin la ayuda de un hombre. Yo soy un ejemplo viviente porque yo nunca tuve a mi padre, mi mamá nunca tuvo un hombre que la ayudara.
She says she's a vivid example. Because why? What's very key here? I did not have a father as part of my life. My mom never had a man to help her. And she's proud of this. I'm pretty sure she has other examples of other women that did have both mother and father dynamics that did very well and actually had it easier and had great guidance and very much understanding. And yet she's proud of saying that my mother struggled, so I'm proud to struggle. What do we say about the people that just want to be down at the bottom? We call it struggle love. She wants to believe struggle living is something to be proud of.
Y hoy en día yo soy lo que soy gracias a ella. Tengo una educación y pretendo ser una profesional, ser de nadie porque yo sé que con mi esfuerzo y mi dedicación,
Effort
yo
and dedication,
necesito
y'all.
un sostén. Yo me puedo sostener yo misma y si en un día soy una madre soltera,
She
tengo el
decided.
ejemplo de mi mamá de que tú
She decided to be a single mother, y'all. She made the decision to be a single mother. So that means she had an opportunity to not only pick someone that she wanted to be with, right? To, as they say in the streets, she had the opportunity to vet. She willfully became a single mother when she already had an example of a single mother in her life. She willfully accepted that to be her fate. She welcomed it with open arms. She didn't sit there and say, you know, after she said she had the effort and dedication of watching her mother to turn around and say, she did all that she could, and I respect her for everything she did in her sacrifice. And I also acknowledge the fact that how much it was really difficult for her to do those things. And I decided that I need to be a little bit different. I need to move a little bit different. That's not what she did. She doubled down on being exactly the same thing. This is the equivalent of the people that turn around and say, like, you know what? My mother found the man, even if it wasn't her necessarily her original the original man who should have been my father. My mother found the man, so therefore I will find a man. Your mother's successes are not yours. Just because your mother endured does not mean you will. Do not think that you can live vicariously through your mother and think that you will have the same outcomes. You need to move smarter. I thought the concept was that we want our children to have a better life than we did. But it's the opposite way. Your children think that they should have pretty much the same outcomes that you did. This is crazy.
puedes si quieres y tú puedes llegar donde quieras. Solamente tienes que proponértelo y desear salir adelante, desear ser alguien en la vida. Mi mamá es mi inspiración para todas las mujeres dominicanas que hoy en día todavía tienen la mentalidad de que necesitan un hombre para sobrevivir y que hoy en día le aguantan maltrato, golpes, humillaciones verbales a los hombres psicológicos.
Just do it on your own.
El mensaje es que nosotras podemos por nosotras mismas, que nosotras no necesitamos un hombre para salir adelante, fuertes, luchadoras, y nosotras somos mujeres que podemos llegar donde.
And how well is that working out for them when still to this day in 2024, they're still coming over to the US, still trying to get freaking cards? Missy, you're a liar. You're a liar.
Querramos sin la ayuda de nadie. Tú no necesitas un hombre a tu lado para salir adelante, para criar a tus hijos, para ser una profesional, para vivir. Tú te tienes a ti
with children.
A tu autoestima como mujer, como luchadora, como guerrera. Así que debemos de salir adelante.
I'm going to say this right now, ladies. Unless you are, I'm not even going to say armed services, because I don't see enough of y'all doing hand-to-hand work. Unless you are literally a cage fighter as a woman, I don't want to hear about you being a fighter and a warrior. Yeah, I don't show enough examples. Until you are proven to be Ronda Rousey, until I've seen you in a fucking cage, I don't want to hear no more about you guys being fighters, being warriors. You can say survivors, you can say opportunists. I'll give you that. Do not use the term fight and warrior. You don't show enough examples. You could say strong-willed, strong-minded, opportunist. You can do like. But I don't want to hear any more about you being a warrior, a fighter, and then the moment someone spits at you, you act like you're melting. It's disgusting. I get it. But you're behaving like you're melting like the fucking wicked witch of the West. I'm melting! Stop it. You're not a fighter. You're not a warrior. And guys, I'm going to say this because I say it a lot on other platforms. I'm going to say it here. Look at her hoops. Look at the size of her hoops. The size of her hoops right there, and they could be a whole lot larger, is not indicative of a person that's a fighter. It's not. I always say the bigger the hoops, the bigger the problems.
Antes sin ayuda de nadie. Un hombre, un compañero, tú no necesitas un maltratador, tú no necesitas un hombre que te pelee, que te humille, que te haga sentir al menos.
Not sugar daddies.
Having this topic about Dominican women and stereotypes, specifically Dominican women being a hustler or always getting sugar daddies to pay all their bills. I think, we all straddle that line if we want to or not. I'm not gonna lie. I was on a quest, to find a sugar daddy, at least for the summertime. As a joke, you have it in the back of your mind, but it's hard.
The front of her mind.
I'm not gonna lie, it's very hard because you think you're gaining so much, but you lose so much at the same time. My approach wasn't right, it just wasn't right at all. Guys that usually have all this money to get it, they're probably the drug dealers, that have fast money. But can you really talk to them?
But that's a sugar daddy?
Do they really know what I'm talking about?
No.
They have no idea. So that never really worked for me because that would just be boring for me. So that's one reason why I don't try to pursue the sugar daddy ideal. To strive to their success using education. And that to me has been probably where I stand. I stand in my educational platform, and I won't have a man think that because he's throwing money at me or he has all these things he's offering, count more than the education I have in here.
That's good.
And what I know that I'm capable of doing is going to be worth more than the $200 he can give me every week. That he thinks that's what it means to support.
I agree.
For a lot of my friends, a lot of girls my age, 22, 23. Once you let the money that a dude might be throwing at you not become the extra cash you have for the week, and let it become the money that you actually waiting for, that's when you're gonna run into problems. Because what you gotta do, you gotta rub his back, and you gotta make him happy, and you gotta not say a certain thing because you want him to be cool with you. So you can ask him, oh, ¿y el dinero que tú me tenías que dar? Where's the money that you had to give me? So you can get your money. So that bending, that little bend that you had to do in order to get that money that you needed, no, that's when you know you gotta sugar.
Oh, so check this out, guys. Check this out. She's basically stating that the thing that, and I'll just put it this way, the thing that traditional wives have done when they weren't working, when they were at home, right? To the men that don't give away all their money to their wives, but actually, I just work and I give her all the money. She pays all the bills. She decides where the vacations are. She does all the stuff. She pays all the money to what's going on with the kids, whatever. I don't pay any bills. I just make the money. Those guys. This is the ones I'm talking about. To her, the idea of even being the other side of the wife that turns around and say, and I have my reservations about this particular take, but the women that turn around and don't work because they're stay-at-home wives, maybe they're taking home the children or whatever, and they ask, hey, can I get this money because I need it for whatever? Or they feel the need to say, baby, how are you doing today? Everything good? Are you all right? You look stressed. Hey, your food is over here in case you need it. Hey, how is work? Everything going on with you? That's something that you shouldn't do because that's now considered to be a sugar daddy. Now, keep in mind, she didn't say anyone being married. I'm just going to put it out there. But this is the reason why I'm stating it. I state it because I'm a person that says the way you are prior to the marriage is the same way you should be during the marriage. I'm sorry. If you're telling me that you can only dole out specific benefits to your partner after you receive paperwork, after you receive a ring, there's no guarantee that you're going to be the person that's doing that because you've already shown a level of consistency of being below the bar. If you don't, it's like a job. If you don't prove yourself to be an outstanding candidate, you don't get promoted. This whole I want to get promoted by seniority shit, just surviving, I should get the job because I've been sitting on my ass here long enough and survived, is bullshit. You don't get a job. We get somebody from the outside. Even the way how today's market is. Oh, You've been sitting here for 21 years, Rebecca? Well, I'm about to hire Maggie from the outside because Maggie has been coming up in the world because, quite frankly, she has a whole bunch of stuff doing. But I've seen where your work has been, Rebecca, for 21 years. You're not getting this promotion. You don't think that patting your man's back and stroking his ego, I guess if you got men that need their ego stroked or whatever else stroked, is not good for you because you decided that he should be the one who's providing for you and you're not the one who wants to do anything for yourself? Because we're talking about the women that turned around and said a man that's giving them money when they're not working is not cool. So therefore, you need to go out on your own to get money and struggle on your own, because these women are not talking about going out to work and then having a man and then they work it out together. I didn't hear anything about partnerships either. What I just heard about was, you don't need a man. I can be a nail tech. I can be what? I can get my education, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure they didn't really get that from their mothers. This is a part of the Western influence that goes into these areas. And for the men that are turning around and traveling that say, I'm going to go to areas like the DR. I'm going to go to Brazil. I'm going to go to freaking Thailand or whatever. It's only a stone throw away before the same thing that you're basically trying to pick up is going to already be there. And what they say about the people who go out to those areas, you can't bring them back to the U.S. So if you're not even willing to make your sacrifice to totally become a citizen and live out the rest of your existence in that country, what exactly is the actual talk, the actual conversation that needs to be had to help mend things here within the Western world? Because the Western world is spreading. You want to call it influence, you will call it a plague, whatever, but it's spreading. And even if you go to the other side, if you go to the land of the rising sun, it's still spreading there. So what are you going to do to minimize the things that you are out here talking about as a loss? Because here's what I'm seeing is a loss. I'm seeing this behavior as a loss because you can't have it both ways. You can have everything you want. That goes for men and women. You just can't have it all at once.
And you're winning too. From experience that I've been mantenida, or I've been in a relationship with a man who basically supported me. He wanted me to do was to
It's
cook
legal.
cuisine, which I do not know how to do. I don't know how to cook at all either. So that's always a negative side when guys ask me, "Are you a true Dominican woman? Do you know how to cook?" No. I don't know how to cook. I think Dominican women in general, I think we're a contradiction. I really do think we're a contradiction. We're like a living contradiction between very strong women, but yet, we have we long for tradition at the same time. And I think the fact that we know that we're very strong, we know that we can do things on our own, yet we still want somebody who represents us. I don't know. I look at it this way. If I'm going to have somebody that's with me, he has to represent me as I represent him. But looking at the other way, when you do have a sugar daddy, you're kind of just like a trophy for that person. I also think that if other women, especially Dominican women.
But okay, you're talking about in reference to dating, right? Because even Dominican women that I've ran across and I've met, Dominican, Puerto Rican, Mexican, Cuban, like, y'all all still there. At the end of the day, y'all all still talk about marriage, right? Are you gonna look at? But then a lot of the women that I do speak to as well, they never talk about actually working for the rest of their time with their man. Eventually, they talk about being in the fucking kitchen barefoot and pregnant. So, are you looking at your husbands as sugar daddies? Because when you give birth to kids and everything, all of a sudden, I don't really want to go back to work. Oh, the kid's out. We can pay for daycare. We can, maybe you got a abuela that's there that wants to go watch your kids from time to time or whatever. But you can go back to work. Baby, I don't want to go back to work. You just do it. These are the things that I hear from these people. So what's all that talk about getting your education and talking about you doing your togetherness and everything, which fine, I'm all good for. I'm all good for that. But then the moment comfortability comes in, the moment a child even enters the world, because you can have either or, it doesn't have to be both. All of a sudden, you've been working, you two have both been working, you two got this place or whatever, but all of a sudden, you got problems at your job. All of a sudden, things aren't working very well for you at your job. All of a sudden, you got a problem with that bitch Cindy. All of a sudden, for no reason, out of nowhere, you get fired. And I'm going to tell you from stuff that I've not only heard, but stuff that I've seen through guys that I know who dated women who done these things. I know a chick that he got with, that he was talking to, things were rocking out, whatever. I think that they were dating for about 5 months, and he really was going to hit it off with her, and all of a sudden she started having financial troubles. And then all of a sudden she couldn't pay for her apartment. He said, I can't pay for your apartment, but I really care about you. You know, they already said that they loved each other. He moves her into his spot, and all of a sudden she got a problem with somebody at work. And I'm like, bruh, watch yourself. Watch yourself. All of a sudden she claims she's getting fired from her job. But prior to even getting fired from her job, all of a sudden she didn't feel like going to work because she just felt so stressed. I'm just saying. There are clear signs and behaviors that do take place. It's not everyone, but there are key things that are being told. And she's talking about in reference of dating, but let's just say if you're not working like that, are you looking at your husband as a sugar daddy? And I'm pretty sure in her mind, the answer is a resounding yes.
And are pursuing this habit, it's just, it's counterproductive on what you want to do. If you really want to strive and excel in education and working and in your career, just attaching yourself to that one individual that's supposed to represent you is actually crippling yourself, and you're not going to be able to excel in what you want to do.
And we realize that there really can be a lot of pressures, both from Dominicans and from non-Dominicans, about where we're supposed to go, what are we supposed to be, what are we supposed to do. You could get the pressure from your family, or you can get the pressure from people who are stereotyping you. It's really important to listen to your own voice and to try to get some strength. And you really cannot do it completely alone, so we want you to know that you're not alone. There are other people who have probably been through the same thing. At the same time that you listen to your voice, it's really important for us to remember what it means to be Dominican, and what is the Dominican Republic, and what is life like there, the opportunities or lack of opportunities that we have had and that people still have. And if we could find a way to connect so that everybody's recognized and everybody's potential is fulfilled, I think that's a really beautiful vision. This message can inspire us to be ourselves at the same time that we're getting together so that everybody can be fulfilled.
Talking to myself, losing myself already. She said nothing. She said absolutely nothing. This heifer turned around and had 5 minutes to talk, if it was 5 minutes to talk. And turned around and all she said is that we're Dominican and that we have to understand and don't forget that you're Dominican and remember that we can all rise up and being Dominican. She said absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. She said nothing of substance there at all. Yeah, I caught that CCD. She said absolutely nothing there. She wasted her entire time doing so. I don't know what the hell was in that about. So I wanted to cover something that real quick that Zoomer had mentioned before on one of our other streams, because I talked about people who were basically being isolationists. And a good example is that were people who were over in Japan, and I talked about the food and even how they're doing it in terms of being isolation. And he called it glory hole dining. Well, I wanted to give you an example of exactly what that looks like, even in one of the most predominant, or rather, I should not predominant, but prominent areas of Japan, one of the most prominent noodle bars. Let's take a look at that.
Hello everyone, I'm Kosuke. I'm in front of ramen restaurant ICHIRAN. Today I'm gonna show you how Japanese people enjoy ramen noodle. Let's go. At ICHIRAN, when you enter the restaurant, ticket machine is waiting for you. You can see the menu in Japanese, English, Chinese, and Korean. I'm gonna order basic ramen, additional chashu pork for topping, and half-boiled egg. You can order later again if you forget something for now. Ichiran used to accept only cash before, but now we can pay by card as well.
I just went out recently. We ate ramen. There was nowhere close to $10 USD. There's no way in hell at all. I paid for two things. No, I paid for three things actually, and drinks and everything else. And I think I walked away paying close to $50. I paid close to $50, and he paid $10.
Let's see how the entire restaurant looks like. Each table is divided by the screens.
Look at those dividers.
This screen is flexible. You can remove it if you come with your family or friends. Just for your information, some Ichiran restaurants are famous for plenty of toilet rolls. Okay, I will take the table on the corner. There is a paper slip on the table.
Zoomer,
you can choose
your glory hole.
For example, the noodle texture, the amount of garlic, green onion, chashu pork, and how spicy it is. When you're ready to order, press the button. At Ichiran, you don't need to speak any word. You can tell your request by showing these plates. But I've never used this. It's noisy. I'm leaving my seat for a moment. I do like a kid's bowl and utensils. I don't know the ordering process. Let's briefly talk about ramen and Ichiran. In Japan, we have various types of ramen. It depends on regions. For example, Ichiran is from Fukuoka. Fukuoka is the most famous city for tonkotsu ramen, pork broth. I am from Nagasaki, Kyushu area, the same with Fukuoka. For me, naturally, tonkotsu ramen is my ramen. But if you ask somebody from Hokkaido, Sapporo for example, they would say miso ramen is their standard. Some of you might be thinking, does Ichiran divide the tables for social distancing because of the pandemic? No, Ichiran's this style has nothing to do with the pandemic. Ichiran has been doing this from a long time ago. This is called eating concentration table. They wish customers can focus on eating Ichiran ramen without any distractions. Okay, looks like my ramen is coming.
That's a good size. That's a good size to eat for $10. He got the egg, he got the chaosu pork, like he got tonkatsu. Like that's my favorite ramen too, tonkatsu ramen. And again, $10. But he had to basically look at the way how the restaurant was set up. Even if he came with a whole bunch of friends, they said they might have a section area, but outside of that, it's concentration eating. I've never heard of a term like What the fuck do you mean concentration eating? Who gets distracted from... Wait, let me just ask this question, because it might just be me. Who gets distracted from eating? How many of y'all are distracted from eating? I can't... Now, I've heard of... I can't really enjoy my food because you're talking too much. I guess maybe that's distraction eating, but how many of us can really say that we're distracted from eating? You go out to, like, most of us are from the U.S., right? So, who of us go to a restaurant, whether it's noisy or whatever, yeah, you may have to yell a little bit to hear each other if you get to a really popular spot, but how many of us to say that we're distracted from eating? Oh, that's a good way of putting that. I didn't even think about it. Depends on who's talking. That's a good way to put it. I didn't think about it. I would hope that you wouldn't bother going out eating with this person. I'm not gonna lie to you. I would say don't bother going out to eat with that person, but you have a point. That could be it. You say you're disgusted right now. Ah, well, that's for you multitasking, Hopefully you don't spit all that food on the damn keys. Just saying.
Look at this shining ramen. Gorgeous.
It does look good. It's either tea or water. Probably water, yep.
I just realized I wanted to have more toppings. I should hurry up. I've got to eat ramen while it's fresh.
Don't want that ramen dying on you. So he's a mushroom fan. He likes mushroom, he likes seaweed. But I want to basically show the fact that people apparently are really out there and they're doing their quote glory hole dining, as the way how Zoomer was basically putting it on. I love the way how that sounded. It was just really crazy. Now, maybe you guys know who this person is. Let me know. So there was an interview that showed up on my actual timeline. And it was about an interview that's happening between a woman called Katie Hopkins and Andrew Tate. But I don't really know much about Katie Hopkins. So I wanted to do a little bit about seeing what she was like. And this is what I found on terms of shorts.
Okay.
Can we say fucked?
You can say whatever you want.
Brilliant.
The UK is fucked.
Yeah, we're fucked in the way that demographically we're already gone. 7 out of 10 new entrants to schools in London are Muslim children. No problem. But demographically, that tells you something. Most common name in the country, Mohammed II, Mohammed. It tells you something. And it tells me that white Christians one day will look to leave this country. And that makes me very sad.
I absolutely love how brutally honest Katie Hopkins is and how her honesty can easily trigger the left.
Can I ask you, is there any part of you as a mother of 2 daughters that this is the man who talked about grabbing women by the pussy? Is there any part of you that feels this is not my guy? I don't want this guy to be talking like this about any woman.
Sweetie, I would rather be grabbed by the pussy than have a pussy for president.
And you're happy with that language?
I'm very happy with that language. Look, none of us are that polite behind closed doors. My girlfriends have ruder language. Real men have ruder language. The gentleman clapping is a real man, obviously. That was a private conversation 8 years ago before he was running. Monica Lewinsky was on her knees with Hillary stood right by her. So I don't know if you're going to say that's any better, sweetie, because I don't think it is.
She's not president. I'm talking about the current president election.
Yes, but when Bill Clinton was president.
I'm not talking about the past. I'm talking about the future.
And 8 years ago, before Donald Trump even ran, man, he used the word pussy. I'm not offended. You are. You deal with your issues.
Okay.
One Sam Smith. He looks like an undercooked Greg sausage roll with nipple tassels on.
What?
Anybody, I don't care if you think you're bi or queer or whatever. If you're morbidly obese, go and put some clothes on, mate. Put some kit on that, because that is beastly. Like, proper, dirty, disgusting looking guy who is chronically now ill. That's ill. One Sam Smith. He looks like an...
Okay, so she's rather wild with it. And apparently people have this whole big thing about her. This is the first time I'm hearing about Katie Hopkins. But apparently this is what popped up in my timeline for Andrew Tate, apparently, who just did an interview with her. And some people are actually saying that it might be one of the biggest viral things that came out recently, because they say that she's basically the female Andrew Tate. Now, those shorts that I just looked at right there, I don't really think they're too crazy. I would say she's more on the conservative side, you could say, maybe a little bit more on the flagrant side, but I didn't hear anything that is worthy, because quite frankly, we all have heard of Andrew Tate, but I have never heard of Katie Hopkins. Maybe some of you guys do, especially my UK watchers, because I do have UK watchers, which, hooray, thank you guys for actually subscribing. But let's actually take a look at this.
Katie, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to Romania.
It's a nice place, actually. I like it.
Have you ever been before?
I've never been before, so I hopped out a few days early to understand a bit of the place, understand why you might be here.
What have you
I wish he had chapters in this, so I could just look through the chapters.
I wanted to get it, because I like to scurry around on the roads like a little rat to find out a place where someone is, because I don't really understand or didn't really understand why you're here. But I think I might do a little bit more now.
What have you seen? Why do you think I've moved here?
I think Romania makes you feel more free, because it's a country that pretty much lets people get on with themselves. Doesn't seem like it wants to interfere in people's lives, which might be a post-communist thing. And also it's quite a male culture, so the male role is very clearly defined and the female role is very clearly defined. And I think here, even as a stranger in a foreign land, you feel more at home.
Yes, I think you're absolutely correct. It's the most Christian country in the world. And despite their recent events towards me, which we can talk about a little bit later, I think you're absolutely correct. I think when I was looking for a place to live, I realized when you analyze the world, you have to either be afraid of the law or you have to be afraid of the criminals. And there's nowhere perfect. The worst places on the planet, you have to be afraid of both. Like America, for example, you have to be afraid of the criminals and the law. They'll both wreck you, right? In England, you don't have to really fear the law so much. They'll try and take your money away, but I think the police are pretty inept and useless as a whole for anything besides coming for us. But then you have to fear the criminals. Look at London now, right? Yeah. So Romania is a very safe place. You didn't really have to fear the law or the criminals. It was a pretty safe place where you were left alone to do what you wanted to do, and it felt very free until this recent episode. But we can go down that rabbit hole as to whether it was even Romania who did that at all. But I think for the people at home who aren't exactly familiar with who you are, you can tell everybody your story, and because I think you and I have had some similar experiences, and then we can have a nice complaint about the world.
We have gone through, I think, we've gone through some very similar things in different times. And so I should explain to people that my name is Katie Hopkins. I am the most banned woman on the planet.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
I should explain that I am a woman, because there is always questions about that. And currently I have something wrong with my voice, and so I sound like I'm off a RuPaul Drag Race. So it's really not helping with the whole trans thing. But just to clear that straight up, I'm the most banned. I'm banned from countries. I'm banned from South Africa, banned from Australia.
South Africa? Why does South Africa ban you? Why South Africa?
Because so my work is really just telling truths from the road. I say that's what I do.
Yep.
And I go places, spend time in places to show people what's actually going on.
Yep.
So I went to South Africa, slept on South African farms.
Wow.
White South African farmers are being hunted from their land by black gangs. I went there, lived on those farms for 3 months when the monsters come.
Wow.
And on leaving the country, because the ANC became aware that I was in country, on leaving they had fiddled and altered the system changing the country I was born from, so my passport didn't match who I was, and I was held at South Africa, detained, my passport taken.
Wow.
I was going to be taken off to a cell. There were lads in the car park of the airport, ready, loaded,
Wow.
ready to go, if I was going to be detained, because you don't come back from that.
Course.
And as a result, I was banned because I was trying to tell the story of the white farmers. So that's South Africa off my list.
And Australia? Why'd Australia ban you?
Australia.
I'm a bit jealous. I've yet to be banned from a country yet.
I know you think you're just this like Billy Big Bollocks, but in fact, you've really not even touched the sides.
I haven't even
What
started.
have you done? What have you done? You've just done a bit of jail time.
Yeah, it's true. You're right.
That's it.
You're right.
That's it.
You're right.
So Australia, with the insanity of lockdowns and the tyranny against the people, at that time, Australia was one of the worst.
Yeah.
So there was this guy, Dan Andrews.
I remember, yeah.
Right. And it was so, you weren't allowed to browse in a store. They had commercials telling you, you don't browse. You had to keep your trolley or cart or whatever language we speak moving at a certain rate of knots in the supermarket.
Draconian insanity.
Like, totally. And at the same time, they invited me to go over there to do Celebrity Big Brother, which you'll know is a show for idiots and retards.
Celebrity Big Brother.
And so I said, yeah, sure, I'll do that.
Yeah.
And so I went over. They put me into prison quarantine because, and respectfully, it's not prison like you know. And after 2 days there, bear in mind, no one was allowed to go there. No one was allowed to go back to their children. You couldn't go to see your dad if he was dying in hospital. And they flew me in to do Celebrity Big Brother with Caitlyn Jenner and Meghan Markle's brother, whatever. And so after 2 days, and I was not allowed to say where I was not allowed to say what I was doing there, I was not allowed to go online, I was not allowed to breathe, I wasn't allowed to leave my room, I wasn't allowed to open the door, and I was suffocating with the insanity. I was doing anything to try and get attention from anywhere, like standing at the window of my prison, like flashing at the officers. Not that would, maybe just some sympathy that I would elicit. But it turned out that the offices were locked down as well. So no one opposite me on my balcony could see me either. And I was like, right. And so I went online, bear in mind I'm not allowed to be online, went live on YouTube. And then I kind of got excited. And I said, you know what? Because the military were going up and down the stairwells, up and down the corridors to check that no one was trying to leave the hotel lockdown. I was like, the next time they knock on my door and deliver my food, you were supposed to wait 30 seconds to get the food because COVID knew. And I had an egg timer I was supposed to turn because COVID would know.
What is she talking
anyway,
about?
Like, the next time they knock on my door,
She's trying to explain
I'm
herself.
going to get naked. I'm going to cover myself in oil. And I'm going to run down the corridor, and I'm going to grab, this works better if you had hair, I'm going to grab the security guard by this head, and I'm going to drag him back to my apartment, and I'm going to do, and I made some sexually physical gestures that are not appropriate, and I am going to do bad things to him. And then that went crazy.
Wow.
So BBC, Al Jazeera, CNN reported that that actually happened.
Wow.
That I'd run the apartment block naked,
Wow.
that I sexually violated security staff, and I was fined, banned, deported from Australia.
She was fined and banned for something she didn't do. She only talked about.
I'm very
got
curious.
some shit to catch up on, son.
It's true. I'm very curious if Australia is going to let me in when I finally get out of this debacle. I'm not sure if they will or not. But
they'll have so much fun talking about why you shouldn't be allowed.
Of course, yeah.
And do they already know that you want to go?
Not yet.
Because I saw the recent stuff, who was it? The Economist, was it? That pushed some stuff out about the fact that you are 100% to blame for young boys deciding that maybe they'd quite like to be a bit stronger. So I wondered if that was a preliminary for you trying to be there.
Oh yeah, everything's my fault. And this is how the MSM works. Absolutely everything's my fault. They found some idiot, I don't know, I can't even remember what crime he committed. Some idiot did something. And the entire report wasn't about who this idiot was or what he did. It was that he followed me on Twitter.
Yes. Well,
and I was like, well, 9 million people follow me on Twitter.
It doesn't matter. One day he liked your tweet, and that was why he turned into a mad cat rapist.
Well, literally. And
I know.
It's so interesting because...
I don't know why you have a problem with it, frankly.
Well, if Taylor Swift... I'd like to see someone crash a car listening to Taylor Swift. And then
That
to
would be
blame the
fine.
whole car crash on Taylor Swift's
That would
music.
be fine.
Taylor Swift fan, vehicular homicide.
She's fine because she's pro-Biden, so she can't be touched. She's the untouchable.
So let's start off with an easy question.
Let's start off with something.
Can you imagine? Listen, is that a list? Is that a list that basically says that if you are pro Biden, you are untouchable? Imagine if that's a secret list that's happening right there.
More normal. Our conversation is a bit odd because we both come at it from like, oh yeah, I'm banned from South Africa. I'm banned. Oh, I've been in a Romanian cell. We're not kind of standard in that regard.
That's right.
Yeah.
Do you think the law is real? Do you believe in the law at all? I'm just going to give you my, I don't want to taint your answer.
Okay.
But in my experience, I've come to the conclusion that it's all just made up garbage. And it's completely subjective, and it's unfairly applied. And the law is so complicated. Nobody knows the law. People sit and say, oh, I live in England or I live in America. You don't know the law. You haven't read the book. And if you did read the book, you still wouldn't get it. And it probably changed by the time you finish reading it. Nobody knows the law. They can hit you with anything at any time. And then you say, well,
Okay, let me know. Are we good? Yeah, they listen. Oh, we coming up in the world. We coming up in the world, guys. First time I ever got sniped. Wow. Oh. And I'm trying to figure out what exactly they had the issue with. Listen, I'm feeling, not for nothing, I feel kind of good about that. I feel like we're actually coming up in the world because, we can't call ourselves officially content creators if we don't get sniped at least once. The algorithm said, no, we gotta put a barrier on you. Oh. So being that it was nothing else but the moment we started talking about Andrew Tate. This is gonna be some new analytics that I'm gonna have to really go through. Yeah, I agree. Rites of passage, absolutely. Okay, all right. They said shame on you. No doing that. No doing that. And you know what? I can't say nothing. I can't say nothing about it. I think I'm gonna take it as it is. I think this is gonna be some good homework to really understand what exactly it was that I got hit for. I like it. I'll do some thinking about it. I'll do some convening. But I guess they said, you know what? We've been watching you on the back end, Resla. You've already taken a look at some political stuff. We took some of your ideas and we want to talk about it in some of our other content. We can't have that. We can't have your little creators coming up and start doing things like that. And then on top of it, they were like, mofo, what are you doing here? Huh? What are you doing? Don't you normally only go about 3 hours anyway? Time for you to go. Go take a nap. We don't want you on YouTube right now. You're doing too much. And I guess I'm gonna have to, go ahead and concede with Mama YouTube. But you know how it is, guys. We're gonna be doing our own thing. This is a new milestone for us, guys. You know it's official when we officially start getting stuff like that. Guys, if you enjoyed today's content, I know we got a whole lot of stuff going on. There's definitely some other things that I want to review. But if you haven't, hit that like button, please, and also hit the subscribe button if you have not already. Share this kind of content to anyone you know and like who will be interested in this kind of content. If you didn't already know, let me just say it already for the hell of it. We go live on Wednesdays at 4 Eastern and also on Saturdays at 4 Eastern. And of course, if there was ever a change, I would let you know ahead of time, right? I do some particular streams, which we are officially dubbing as drop-by discussions with me and OG Do Dirty. That is going to be mainly around that, I want to say, 12 o'clock on Eastern time. No, sorry, 1 o'clock, 1 a.m. on Eastern time. So if you're looking at 1 a.m. technically on Wednesday, that's what basically that we will be doing our own things. We had a great episode. I wish you guys were actually there to see it. For those who actually did show up, you saw that we had a lot of crazy discussions, and the things that we were reviewing and reacting to were absolutely insane. We had a great time there. I do appreciate all you guys who actually showed up. If you have not already, you can reach me out on multiple mediums. I'm not gonna bother putting it up there because thanks for letting me know. I did have to change a placement of one particular thing out there. I don't know why it was like that, but it happens. So I am able to reach on actual Twitter, which is _Resla. You can reach me over at Instagram, where I am, of course, at Resla Opinionated, all one word, of course, nothing in between. And then, of course, if you have your own tips, ideas, tricks, things that you think that I can actually do to be able to help and benefit the show, because this is all not just for me, but also for you guys as well, because we want to reach out and build a bigger family that we have going on here, right? And that's going to be at ReslaOpinionated at gmail.com. Once again, ReslaOpinionated at gmail.com. And this was a new one for us. I really enjoy it. Be advised, I will be doing a live stream on Saturday, and I'm going to have to figure out what shorts I'm going to be doing for the next couple of days as I figure out some new things going on. I will see you guys probably later today, because I will be going over to the porch session. For you guys who don't know, I do like to go over to the team over on the porch session, the DA porch session, where they have a whole bunch of conversations. They have a great platform. You guys want to be able to take a look at that, as well as OG Do Dirty, who does his show also on Saturday, and of course the one that we both do together, which is our live discussions. I appreciate you guys for being here. I love you guys for always showing up and supporting as we try to build this channel. And until then, stay opinionated. I'll see you in the next one.